I would like to leave this city. This old town don't smell too pretty, and I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I book myself into a soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. So what do you say? You can't give me the dreams that are mine anyway. Half the world away, half the world away, half the world away. I've been lost, I've been found, but I don't feel bad.
Hey, good evening, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are in the world. You're listening to the Half the World Away Celtic podcast from Hail Hail Media. My name's Kevin O'Neill and I'm based in Mandurah in Western Australia, originally from Coatbridge. And as always, joining us all the way over on the other side of Australia in Melbourne, Victoria, is my good friend and, for the second season running, Housewife's favourite, Pat Close. From
If I'm the Housewife's favourite, what does that make you?
Just
Doesn't be a thing to it, does it?
Just a bloke. Anyway, good day, Pat.
G-Day, Kevin, how are you doing?
Very good. How have you been?
Yeah, been good, man. It's middle of winter over here for everyone in the northern hemisphere, so it's a bit chilly and a bit cold compared to normal, but loving it. It's good. Oh, happy days. Everyone's sick, everyone's got colds, and yeah, fantastic. And my wife's car got rear-ended tonight as well, so that was really nice.
Oh.
So thanks to the women who slammed into the back of my wife's car. That was really nice of you. So there you go. Share my family issues with you.
Not so good, but good to hear you again, Pat.
Thank you, Kevin.
So we've also up in Osaka, Japan, an hour behind Pat, an hour ahead of me in Western Australia. We've got Liam Carrigan. G'day, Liam.
G'day, boys. How we doing?
Very good. Konnichiwa.
Konbanwa.
Oh, yeah.
Konnichiwa is good afternoon.
Ah, konbanwa.
Konbanwa.
Konbanwa, my lord. Konbanwa.
That'll teach you to be a smart ass, Kev. Well done.
I'll need to brush up my Japanese. How have you been, Liam, through the close season?
Oh, good. World Cup was excellent. Really enjoyed that. Wasn't easy getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning for the games, mind you, but it was worth it.
I'm sure it wasn't. We'll probably mention the World Cup a little bit later on as well, but good to hear you again, Liam.
Yep.
Now, we've also tonight, Martin Kelly isn't on the show tonight because Martin's a bit busy with work. He's quite heavily involved with Commonwealth Games and that kind of stuff. But we do have Jim Kinlan. How are you, Jim?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, very good, Jim. Very good. How have you been with your close season?
Oh, look, I mean, the World Cup was good because we'd football to watch, but it's great to have the hoops back. I've really missed it. It's really good to have the season starting again.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that, Jim. And also joining me in Mandurah tonight, and now fellow Mandurian, is he's been on the show before, former Geraldton man and Parkhead man, Mr. Jimmy Malcolmson. How are you, Jim?
Good, Kev. How are you? Hi, guys.
All good, Jim. All good. It's good to have you back on. It's good to have you down in Mandurah as well. So
yeah, aye.
You might be on the show a little bit more often.
Well, hopefully, yep.
When we're having a few beers on a Friday night. We'll see.
Well, the show comes first, Kev. Come on.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Anyway, folks, it's good to be back on, I suppose. And as usual, as per last season, if you want to interact with us tonight, you can do so. Probably the best way to do that is on Twitter. You can send your tweets to @halftheworld88. That's @halftheworld88. That's any questions you've got at all or any comments on what we're talking about. It'd be good to hear from you as always. Or if you do want to join in, actually, you can Skype us. The Skype name is Half the World 88, so it's similar to the Twitter handle Half the World 88. So yeah, if you fancy it, you can Skype us in and join the show. And as always, we'll just need to keep our ears open and see how we're going in terms of the audio quality, because sometimes if we've got too many people on, it can sometimes play up a little bit, but we'll see how we go anyway. But you can also leave your comments in the Spreaker chat room as well, and we'll try and keep an eye out on that part. We'll try and do that as best they can, I guess. So without further ado, guys, now I might as well say this as well, we're going to try and keep the show, as I always say, a bit shorter than the usual 3 hours as it pans out. We've got a few things we'll try and talk about this evening, but we'll try and keep things moving along fairly rapidly, because you've got an early morning part, haven't you?
I've got a big day tomorrow, Kev, yeah, with the kids and stuff. Just got from crack of dawn till tomorrow night, so yeah, lots of stuff to do.
So
but I can stay up late, Kev. I'm a big boy now. I'm all right. Yeah.
Don't tempt us, though, Pat. Don't tempt us.
Well, it is. It's actually an early start. You caught me on the hop, Kev. This time. It's normally an hour later. I was had a bit of a rush home from work. You know, I got to boot camp on a Friday. I was rushing home and I got in and yeah, my wife went to the shops to get the kids to bed. So yeah, you caught me on the hop.
It's all good. We made it. We were a few minutes late, but we made it.
Yep. Because of that, I've been relegated to the back room. So yeah, in the kids' bedroom. I can still watch it. I can watch the football as well. This is pretty good. I can watch the
What's the latest score? What's the latest score actually? Because I tipped the Kangies. Yeah,
they were getting beat. They were getting beat by 15 points. I think it's 3/4 time. I think.
Yeah.
I just only flicked it on just now. So, but yeah, got some people in the chat room already. Tony Cassidy. Thanks, Tony, for all the tweets already. He's even tweeted John Paul Taylor at Celtic saying, "Listen to these complete idiots in the other side of the world talking about Celtic stuff." And Chris McMahon. Our good friend Chris McMahon from Geelong,
yes,
down in Geelong is there. So happy days. Thanks, Chris, for messaging in already. So
good.
We had a good time with Chris and that up in the Gold Coast, but we shall come on to that a bit later.
We will, yes, absolutely. I'm sure John Paul Taylor's got better things to be doing with his time than listening to us anyway. But
what else could he be doing, Kev?
Liaising supporters.
We're supporters.
Suppose you're supporters.
We are supporters, yeah.
He could come on and liaise. On Skype.
He could, well, actually, John Paul, if you're listening, if you're one of the 6 people that are actually tuned into Spreaker right at the moment, yeah, you can Skype us. Why not Skype us? It'd be nice. Oh, 18. We're up to 18 people. Thanks, guys. We could try
to get John Paul on sometime actually, but that's for another day.
I think he's been done to death. He's been on the Celtic Underground stuff, isn't he? And he's been on Hill Media a couple of times as well, is he not?
But has he been on Half the World Away? Has he been on Half the World Away?
Probably not, but we are about the 8th favourite Celtic podcast, so I mean, really, it's about time he got to us, isn't it? So, yes. Anyway, so thanks to the 18 or so people.
We better get started, because this is meant to be the quick show, and we're not even on to topic number 1 yet. So, topic number 1 will be, well, let me start this off by saying, pretty much our last show of last season, or maybe the second last show, season was coming to an end. We were talking about, will Lenny stay, will Lenny go, and I think we had a bit of a conversation about it and a few thoughts, and by the end of it, I was convinced he was definitely going to stay, because I think I managed to convince myself, why would he take the chance and go into some lower division championship team or something like that, and maybe not doing very well, and then he pretty much puts himself out the game. So he's got it good at Celtic. Why on earth would he go? And then sure enough, a week or two later, he's out of here. So it came as a bit of a little bit of a surprise to me personally, I suppose. But off he went, and then there was plenty of rumours as to who was going to be coming in. But once again, the media were way off the mark until the very last minute. Celtic unveiled Ronnie Dyler as the new manager. So the first question I'll put to all of you, I'll come to you first, Jim Kinlan.
Yeah.
So far, it's still early days, but what's your own thoughts on Ronnie Dyler so far as to what he's been saying and what you've seen of the pre-season?
I suppose No one of the things I really do like, it was like when everybody, all the media were speculating about who it was going to be, and it's dead true what people always say about Celtic. You cannot believe a word. You'll know when Celtic make your mind up, and the media won't have a clue who it's going to be. When Ronnie Dyer's name came out, I mean, none of us knew who the hell he was. I mean, for the first, as soon as it was announced, everybody's jumping on the internet and trying to find something about the guy. But I remember at the time when he got the gig, I was thinking that, you know, you read about what he'd done in the past, now he promotes youth and everything else, and the fact he had the balls to actually take on the Celtic job, I thought, well, that's all right. Let's give him a go and see how he goes with it. I've been really impressed with him. I don't think he's going to take any crap from any of the players. I really like the whole thing about. The one thing I've noticed is that the team is generally trying to work for 90 minutes. Yeah, and that was a thing that used to always annoy me sometimes. You know, if the team would go into cruise mode and just switch off a wee bit, and I don't think he's ever going to let them do that. So I know it's very, very early days, but I really like this up tempo. Way he wants to play the game. He can get you into a lot of trouble as well. But you know, once the players get used to it a wee bit, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But for the moment, I'm pretty positive about the guy.
So far, so good. Liam, what's your thoughts on what you've heard from Ronnie Dyer and what you've managed to see so far, if you've managed to see much?
Well, I think it's very good, the fact that we didn't know who it was until he was basically in there. Yeah. I like the fact that the rags are being kept in their place and not allowed anywhere near the story until it's a done deal. You know, I think it's always better when we do that. I don't like all this, you know, speculation about is it going to be this guy, is it going to be that guy, and it turns out it's not who you expect it to be anyway. I was initially a wee bit disappointed it wasn't Michael Laudrup, because I kind of wanted him in the job. Yeah. But I do think that Dyler's got a very good way of approaching things. Like, he doesn't take any crap for the players, doesn't take any crap for the press either, and I think that's definitely an encouraging sign. Also, really, he's what Celtic want, because he's a guy who can work with no budget and do miracles. You know, for what I read, I think it was the Guardian. I read it, and they said that basically he won the Norwegian league with like the Norwegian equivalent of like a Motherwell or a Dundee United, a team who were not really fancied at all.
Yes.
So, you know, that's what we need. We need if we're going to do something in Europe, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And you're right. I think it was quite good actually in a way that we didn't know who it was going to be until the last minute. I mean, I can't remember a favourite changing for the manager's position so many times before we appoint somebody. I don't think I've ever seen the favourite position changing so many times, and they were way off the mark in terms of who it was going to be. But Pat, same question to yourself. From what you've heard the man saying and his philosophy in football, what's your thoughts on how he's going to do this season? And do you like what you've heard so far from Ronnie?
Yeah, I mean, it's early doors, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we were at the Gold Coast, I think, when he got appointed, wasn't he? So, and I remember
that's right.
That had been on, it must have been the Saturday night or something. And I don't think everyone, obviously, with mobile phones these days and iPads and that sort of stuff, everyone had sort of read all the news kind of before, you know, things were actually happening, before we knew what was really going on. So, and it was just interesting, sort of, you know, the take on everyone sort of on the Gold Coast. So, like, it was best part of about 100 or so was up there, maybe 80, 100 people up there. I don't think we actually got a final head count, but I don't think anyone had a bad word. I think everyone, there's part of me thinks that it was more of a relief than anything else, because I think it was more of a relief in the fact that it wasn't Roy Keane. Because I don't think I haven't met one single person who said that they would have wanted Roy Keane as the coach. Yeah. So there was maybe a bit of relief in there as well that it wasn't him. That's really kind of cruel to say, but you know, that's possibly the way it was. But yeah, out of left field, it was excellent, and that the whole philosophy of, you know, bringing on the kids and all that sort of stuff as well. I mean, it's kind of like a marriage made in heaven, but you know, whether it works out that way, I guess time will tell. But he's got a pretty big role to fill. You know, I mean, Lenny obviously did a lot of good things there, so we'll see how he takes Lenny's team pretty much and then moulds his own out of it. So obviously no players coming in just at this stage, and then you know, playing a few young guys, obviously McGregor and stuff like that, which again we'll talk about the game in due course. But even already, I mean, even early stages, he's got the young guys playing the game as well. So we'll see if there's more of that during the year. But obviously, it gives opportunity to guys like Tony Watt and these sort of players as well. So again, we'll see what happens with those, whether he's actually going to get an opportunity or not. But certainly, early stages, pretty excited. But it's just too early to say. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be the Messiah, but I guess we'll give him.
So far, so good.
Well, he's got a year really until at the very least until the monkeys get back. So when they come back, then that's when pressure will start to lean a little bit. No matter if they are a few positions in the league further down than us, but I think it's a whole. Just looking at the way Lenny dealt with things, I think it's a whole different ball game when Sevco and the monkeys and the zombies are there. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot more sort of pressure and stuff like that. So we'll see how he deals with that if and when they actually get back in, if they survive that long, of course.
Yeah. Pat, you touched on a good point there about it's obviously, other than Craig Gordon that's come in, but he's not been involved in any of the games so far, and it remains to be seen will he be involved. But it is pretty much Lenny's team that he's taken. Now, Jim Malk, I'll ask you this question in terms of what's Ronnie Dyla going to do. I mean, as we've kind of seen in the papers, I guess, and on the internet, a lot's going to depend on the type of players he's going to have available to us, depending on how we do for these Champions League qualifiers. So they're certainly not going to be going out and splashing big at this stage. Depends whether or not we'll get into the Champions League. It'll depend his budget, but he's pretty much got the same team. He's inherited this team from Lenny. I mean, we watched the game the other night there against Reykjavik. Can you see any change to the way they were actually playing? But bearing in mind what's been said about this high tempo and this high pressing game, I mean, have you seen a significant difference just now?
Well,
bearing in mind it's early days.
It's early days, and like, you're talking about his philosophy in football, and that's what he's talking about, playing this pressing high tempo game. But I was quite happy the other night about the performance, because I wasn't a great fan of when we switched up a lot last season as well. That kind of done my head in a lot. Yeah, and I just like it's an exciting time, and it's a great time. The change is always the same. Yeah. But he is very philosophical. He might not be the Messiah, but Dalai Lama is a very philosophical person, and I'm quite philosophical. So I think he's in me a good shout. He would have known before he took the job on. He wasn't going to get money for players in it. Yeah. He would have known. Well, I would assume he would have known. He'd been told up front this is what he has to work with. So he's saying all the right things. So he must. I'm just hoping the guy knows what he's doing.
Well, as Pat said as well, it's a match made in heaven in terms of, from Peter Lawwell and the board's point of view. He likes to promote the youths. He does strike as the type of guy that looks for a bargain and tries to, polish a stone into a gem and look to pass them on. And I mean that fits with that Celtic business model we always hear them talking about. And if it brings success to Celtic, then
the experienced players will go. Surely they'll stand us in good stead. Brown and that, Commons.
Yep.
Virgil van Dijk at the back, he's coming on really, really well. So the backbone's the area team anyway.
Yeah.
Could be a lot worse. Could be taking there a team that's no up to scratch.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, by the sounds of things, guys, we're all very positive in Ronnie's Dyla anyway, so certainly good, the Dalai Lama, as you say, Sam. But good luck to him for the season ahead. Now, guys, we're touching on it there, obviously, because we had the first competitive game of the season there against KR Reykjavik during the week, the first Champions League qualifier. It's fair to say they're probably not a very strong team, but again, we're at a very, very early stage of the season as usual. First competitive game, all we've been able to judge them on is pre-season. Liam, we'll come to you first in this. First of all, did you catch the game, or have you seen the highlights or goals from the Reykjavik game?
I've seen the highlights, and it was a good, effective performance. I mean, I only saw about 10 minutes of the game, but it looked like we got the job done, and I mean, what sort of team would suffer the humiliation of losing to a semi-professional outfit? Who would possibly do that?
Yeah. Well, yes.
It was a very hard game. They had like 8 men behind the ball right in front of the goalkeeper.
Yeah. Are you talking about Seppo there, Jim? Or are you talking about Fusion? What was it? What was that name? Fusion?
Ventura Fusion.
Ventura. Ace Ventura Pet Detective Fusion United. We'll maybe mention that again later on, because I honestly just thought, I saw a picture of the scoreline, but I honestly thought it was just some mad soccer game on American football park with some team that was called Rangers. I didn't actually realise that's who it was until I started reading some other reports.
I love it. Fourth tier in the American League. Remember how they're always going on about how they're the best supported fourth tier team in Scotland?
They were outclassed even in that. But yeah, we got the job done, I suppose. Pat, did you manage to see the game against Reykjavik?
Yeah, I got up, cracked on to watch it. So, as you saw from my message on Facebook, Kev, it was like a bit of a shock to the system waking up that early in the morning again. So,
yes,
the season's already started when you're, it's first game and you're knackered already.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when it, I think obviously when you saw the team lineup, you're just going. It was a bit surprised, how they're going to fit into the three strikers and how you're going to, where's McGregor going to play, and I mean obviously they had the defence set up the way they normally would, with Lustig and that there, but look, McGregor played pretty well. I mean, as you said, they weren't a great opposition, let's face it. I mean, they looked like, with the strips and that they had, looked like a Dunfermline top, and the way they were playing, it was as if they were playing Dunfermline. That's kind of what it felt like. They were no better or worse than what Dunfermline would have played against us, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, like I think as you said, early in the season and stuff, and players being a bit rusty, or potentially being a bit rusty, I was quite happy with it. It was a good, kind of solid performance. A couple of flaky performances, admittedly. I think I don't know what Griffiths was thinking of. I mean, hit the bar and stuff like that, but he was absolutely pants for the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, like a good performance all round. I mean, there's this whole thing about when Dyla came out and he was saying, it's a disgrace that we are playing, this early in the season. But see, there's part of me actually thinks that it might be in our favour, because if that's the sort of standard of team you're playing against early doors anyway, then it kind of sets you up for what the next game's going to be, because potentially you could end up with a Malmo or someone like that. You know what I mean? So it's, if you're going to jump in straight in the second round, and the second round's going to be your first game, then I reckon it's maybe a detriment, if you know what I mean, because obviously you can be playing against teams that are halfway through a season, but the fact that they've got a run out and they've got the formation and stuff like that, and they're a little bit fitter, and they'll have two like competitive games under the belt, I just think sets them up for the next round, which obviously we'll chat about in a minute or two, because obviously the draw has been made for potentially the next round, and you know what I mean. But so in a way, I know people are being critical and saying, it's crap, Celtic have to play in the third round, the third qualifying round. That's part of me thinks it might be in our favour. What do you reckon? Is that a fair call, or is that just complete rubbish?
I think it's
Jim Finland, you were mentioning as well, so it's either, assuming we get past Reykjavik, we'll play either St Pat's Athletic from Dublin, or Legia Warsaw, Artur Boric's team, which, as Pat suggests, it could be in our favour. Now, St Pat's will be through their season just now, because unless they've changed things since I moved over here, the Irish League play summer football. I'm not so sure about Poland, what their league season is, but St Pat's will be into their season, that's for sure. But we've played them in the past. Legia Warsaw, their first leg game against St Pat's, it was 1 each. St Pat's were very unlucky not to take a 1-0 win back to Dublin with them. So in terms of if we can get past Reykjavik, well, first of all, I'll maybe ask you, Jim Kinlan, are you still, you're confident we'll get by them, and you're happy enough with the next draw?
We'll no get beat by Reykjavik next week. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I think it's a good draw for us. I think it was, man, I'd love St Pat's to get through, but I mean, just the name Legia Warsaw was always a big name in Europe, in decades gone by. You'd have to think that they would be, they could come to Ireland and still turn St Pat's over. Don't know. The good thing about this season is we having this new manager come in, we've actually been able to get quite a few games under our belt. It's been a decent pre-season, and it's the first time in ages. I know pre-season games don't mean much, but we usually get scalped in pre-season games. So it's actually been quite good to actually see them win and just actually see the tempo. The whole thing is what Jim was saying there. He's inherited a good team from Lenny, but apart from that, he's brought back all the youth that a lot of it was out on loan, like McGregor and Natajic and Watt and stuff like that. Yes. And the whole idea with this guy, apparently, is he likes to give youth a chance, and that was it. The night he gives McGregor his debut, and he's done really well. I thought. You'd like to think we can get into this through this next leg as well. I think we'll beat Reykjavik next week. We've got another 2 friendlies against Dresden and then Spurs before we face the next qualifying game. So I think it's looking good.
Yep. And Jimmy Malk, final comments, I guess, on the Reykjavik. Jim Kinlan just says it should be a formality getting past Reykjavik. Facing from what you saw the other night, and then it's either St Pat's Athletic or Legia Warsaw.
No, I think we walk by them pretty easily, actually. Mm-hmm. And I like what Pat said there. That makes a lot of sense, Pat. That maybe it is better after we get that 3 games, so we get a wee 2 games under our belt, because you're right, maybe get straight in against Malmo or something like that, or Legia Warsaw. Mm-hmm. It can be quite difficult. So I think it's shaping up pretty okay now.
Yeah.
So I'm just checking online. So Legia Warsaw, basically the Polish league, hasn't started yet by the looks of it. So they played a few, from what I can see, a couple of friendlies. Yeah. So I think the St Pat's game was.
I think they drew last night, didn't they?
Yeah, it was one each.
It was one each. So
Legia Warsaw.
Right, okay.
So the thing is that people are.
That's Athletic, aye.
I mean, you've already seen stuff online about Celtic likely to face St Pat's, but I think we someone like Legia Warsaw. I mean, I'm not sure what the standard of the Polish league, but I would expect it to be better than Irish league. I'm being a bit arrogant, I guess, saying that. I've got no idea, but you'd think it'd be the same scenario as us. It's going to be a team that are very early in their season. They're still basically in pre-season, and St Pat's maybe just caught them at the right time. So the fact, I wouldn't think the fact that it's a 1-1 draw is St Pat's are favourites in any way, shape or form. But I mean, they're obviously a bit more through their season. I was just trying to pick up some stats on them, but they've played. If I get that right, they played 20 games. So they are maybe getting towards the end of the season, more or less. Yeah. They're third in the league at the moment. 20 games,
and that could explain their good result in Warsaw. Really, So as Jim says, it's no foregone conclusion that ties over. Even though St Pat's have got the away goal, because they are, by all accounts, Legia. They're a team. If you were asked. Name a few Polish teams. That's a name that you do recognise in European football. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. But it sounds as if we're all confident that we'll certainly dispose of Reykjavik, and we're fairly happy with the next opponents, whoever it may be. Then we'll just need to wait and see who we get in the final playoff before we get into the group stage. And this leads us on to the next point, I suppose, in terms of this season. And I know we've said it's very early days with Ronnie Dyla in, and again, we don't really know how things are going to pan out, but realistic expectations for this coming season in terms of Champions League cups, domestic cups, I suppose. Liam, I'll ask you first of all, what would be your expectations for this season, bearing in mind the change in management structure we've had?
A lot's going to depend on what we do in terms of signings. I mean, just go on the assumption that we're going to be the way we are now, with maybe a couple of players coming in and a couple of players going out, right? So if the squad's essentially the same strength as it is now, realistically, into the group stages, finish third, and try and get maybe into the last 16 or the last 8 of the UEFA Cup, the Europa League, rather.
Yeah.
That would be a good season, because the thing is, the new last 16, unless we can seriously upgrade the team, we get the last 16, we're going to get pumped anyway.
Yeah.
So, for the fans' point of view, more games, longer in Europe, it's actually better if we finish third.
That's an interesting viewpoint, Liam. Jim, Mark, what's your own expectations for this season in terms of all the competitions?
Not much different for if Lennon was here. I think if Lennon was here, maybe he may have made a few signings. We'd hope to get to the group stages. That still sees a strong possibility we'll get to the group stage. And if we finish third, if we make Europa, then so be it. But you just never know. I mean, if the guy's philosophy works, if they get to the group stages and he makes the right signings, that you'll have to do a treble sometime in the next few years. But that's that would be too high expectations. But mine's is more or less the same as if Neil Lennon was still there. Yeah, I think the team's still settled enough.
Yep. Jim Kinlan, have you got any different expectations of this season?
It's funny, isn't it? It's surreal how just in the last couple of years everything's changed, and that your whole season's based on how well you do in July and August. Because if you don't make the group stage, a lot of the season can come really flat straight away pretty quickly. Assuming we can get to the group stage, I'm really up for this season. I'm really up for this season. But I really think a guy coming in refreshed doesn't have the baggage. I mean, you're guessing why Lenny left, but I think he just get fed up with it in the end. I just think he just got enough's enough, and left. This guy doesn't have that this year. He comes in, he's brand new, up for the challenge, changing the team. He wants to make a team for himself. I'm really up for it. I think it'll be good.
And Pat, I suppose in terms of, it's certainly freshened things up a little bit. So maybe that's put a new or refreshing look on the majority of Celtic fans. Look ahead to the season in terms of it's not exactly going to be same old, because we've got a new management team in place. There's definitely going to be some differences, whether that's in terms of results, whether that's in terms of performances or the way we play football. But has it made a difference to the way you're looking forward to this season, and what's your expectations and how we'll do?
Well, to someone like me, it's irrelevant who the manager is. I will look forward to the season anyway. I'll still be up at 2 in the morning or 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning to watch games. So to someone like me, the good thing I think is it's not so much a promise to the fans, but it's certainly he has a way of playing, and it seems an offensive way of playing as well. So I think that's certainly excited Celtic fans with the stuff I've read and people I've spoken to. You're not going to get the same, like I'm going to play Charlie Mulgrew for the sake of it. I'm going to put James Forrest out wide even though he's injured. The fact is, he's come in and he's, right away, even things have changed by saying along the lines of, right, James Forrest, you're not playing until you're fit. We're not going to play you half fit, and it's like, that's maybe it is a different outlook. I don't know. Maybe that was always the plan, but little things like that I think are a little bit refreshing as well. So I like the offence, the sort of defending from the front sort of thing. I've said this. I actually had a chat with someone quite recently, but I can't think who it was, and it was along that lines of, you look at what Chile did in the World Cup, and they did the same thing. There's a lot of pressure from the attack all the way through to defence. So whenever the opposition have the ball, they try and get the ball back off you as quick as possible. Now, I know it sounds really dumb, but that's kind of like some teams in the AFL play that way, and I like watching that because I just like teams that really put in the effort. Yeah. And if you can get Celtic playing that way, I'll be absolutely delighted, because with guys like, and no offence to them, you get guys, Samaras, Forrest, whoever not tracking back. Tom Rogic is a perfect example of it. Great going forward, but when he loses the ball, it's that sort of second effort to get back and win it back. And when he doesn't do it, it bugs me. It just really, really annoys me. But if he's going to have players saying, do you know what, if you lose the ball, you must be committed to get that ball back. I think that's a great way of playing. I'm surprised that Scotland don't do I think they're starting to move down that path with some like Naismith up front. I think he's like he's an ex monkey, but he's he niggles and he just pressurises players, and there's part of me likes that. So whether Stokes can keep up with that, whether Pookie can keep up with that sort of pressure, whether Griffiths can, I don't know, but that's certainly the way. Just reading between the lines, that's the way he wants to play. He's going to defend from the front. And it doesn't matter where you are on the ground. You have to try and get that ball back as quick as possible. So fingers crossed he maintains that, and I say that's the sort of football I like. I just like guys that put in 100% effort, not I've lost the ball. That's all right. Somebody else will win it back for me.
Yeah,
You know,
I think a good example of that tonight, Pat, was McGregor. He was left wing, right wing, back for it. He was moving about quite a lot. So he was.
Yeah, and there's guys like that coming through. I mean, even Henderson's the same. He's certainly very much in your face, and I, as a midfielder, I like that in a player. You know, but if you can get the forwards buying into that as well, yeah, I'm all for it. I reckon that's a great sign. But it's a hard game to play though, and I'm not sure you could maintain that in the Champions League, because you come up against a good passing team, assuming we get there obviously, but you come up against a good attacking and passing team, I should say. They can pass a way out of that. You know, it's just horses for courses, I guess. It depends where they try and use that sort of same tactic, but in Europe, but especially there was a lot of criticism last year of Lennon when teams are coming to Celtic Park and he'd play like one man up front or two men up front. I mean, Dyler's already, you know, even away in a Champions League, he's got three forwards in. You know what I mean? So that's refreshing as well. But whether we can maintain that against better teams, I guess remains to be seen. But you know, fair dues to him. So we'll see how we go. I just have to point out, Tony Cassidy sent a message to John Paul Taylor and said, "Listen to these guys." And John Paul Taylor has retweeted Tony's tweet.
Fair play AJ.
So I'm sending him a message now saying, if you want to join us, you're more than welcome. So I should point out, Alistair Jack is trying in as well, but Alistair, we've got 4 on the call at the moment. If we have a 5th, it gets really flaky, mate. So I'm not sure what we'll do. I have to try and work something out.
Are you banning for Alistair?
Well, it's just if we bring 5 on, then we know what happens when we bring 5 people on or 5 calls on. It goes completely bottoms up.
It can.
And just, I have to say a couple of hellos as well. Jim Rennox is listening to us in Paris.
He is.
Paris.
I wonder if it's Paris in France. So it's not one of these sort of gags that it's Paris and flipping, you know, the Northern Territory or something.
Well, I'm guessing it is, because he says it's beer o'clock now, so it's after lunchtime in Gay Paris. So
it's Jim Rennox. Did you meet him in the Gold Coast? Every minute it's beer o'clock for Jim Rennox. I've seen him. Thanks, Jim, for messaging in.
No, it's good.
The Myrtle Beach boys are on the chat room as well. So, great boys. Higgs is there as well. He's given us a mention, and Chris McMahon's still at it. So, thanks everybody for listening in.
And we'll give Tommy Gribbin a shout out as well, because he's just started following us. And Beer O'Clock retweeted us as well. So
Beer O'Clock.
And thanks to Tony Cassidy as well, because he's been doing some exceptional promotional work for us there in the background.
Yeah, we should learn how to do that one of these days.
We've told the Wayne's off, Tony. Get the noise down.
Yeah, Tony had tweeted in to say that he heard a lot of Waynes running about in the background, and that was the O'Neill and the Malcolmson Waynes getting a bit hyper out there. So we've now put them in the freezer, and that should keep them quiet for a wee while.
For a couple of minutes.
For a couple of minutes, anyway. We'll see how we go. So, guys, in terms of we'll talk a little bit now about the World Cup, moving off, I suppose, the Celtic subject, but there is a link here anyway. Now, I'll be brutally honest, I did not see much of the World Cup at all. One, because I think, as I said, at the tail end of last season, I wasn't overly interested in it. And just because of the time difference as well, it wasn't the best for me. So I didn't really see too much of it. I did get up to watch England get beat by Italy at 6 o'clock in the morning here, which was pretty enjoyable, but apologies to any England fans listening. But other than that, I didn't really see. I think I saw another game, but I can't even remember which game it was. I definitely saw 2 games out of the 64 or 65 games that were on. But honestly, guys, I didn't even bother setting the alarm to get up for the final. That's how uninterested I was in watching the live coverage. I was happy enough finding out the results the day after and watching the highlights of the goals. But that was my World Cup. It was the most bizarre and the least football I've seen in a World Cup competition in my entire lifetime, I think. So I can't comment too much on it. But Liam, I'll come to you first of all, because I think you watched a fair bit, and obviously Japan were involved in the tournament, and you've got your new country of residence there. You're a big Japan fan.
Yes.
How do you think Japan did? How do you think they did personally, and what was Japan as a country's thoughts on their overall performance?
Well, before the tournament, if you listen back to our last show, I said, I'm optimistic Japan could surprise a few people. They might do something. I got it completely wrong. They were pish.
Well, you did.
And I must apologise to anybody who backed Japan to win that group based on my poor advice. They were really unlucky, I think, because the first game against Ivory Coast, which I watched with a bunch of absolutely fanatical Japanese girls, which was an interesting experience.
Girls.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
he's moving swiftly on, boys.
They went 1-0 up, and they were looking good, but then Ivory Coast were just too powerful. They were physically bigger and stronger, and they basically bullied Japan off the ball. Drogba came on, 2 quick goals, bang, that's it. And I don't think Japan ever recovered for that for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
They played against Greece, who, as much as we love Sammy, I've got to say Greece are one of the luckiest teams to get to the second round of World Cup I've ever seen. Because they were a poor, poor team.
I think they always
Japan
have.
Played against them with 10 men for 70 minutes, and they couldn't score. And if you can't score against the worst team in the tournament with 10 men for 70 minutes, then you don't deserve to get through. So, but the sad thing is that Japan, as much as I love Japan, they do tend to over-exaggerate things. But the same as England do, but not quite as bad as England. But a lot of them were like genuinely shocked when Japan got knocked out, and it's like, guys, you're Japan, get real. You weren't expected to do anything. So there was a genuine sense of shock here, which, of course, I guess the Japanese, like any other country, they want their team to do as well as they can, and it's a shame when they don't. But really, looking at that group, they were they were the lowest ranked team of the 4 teams, so it's not really surprising. But to go out with only 1 point really is kind of disappointing. I'm no surprised that Zaccheroni's since quit, to be honest, because it was a pretty negative style of football he had them play,
I was disappointed as well with Japan. I thought they would have had a good chance as well. My experience of World Cup was kind of different angle. I just thought there was that many games, excuse me, that the referees were very, very lenient. I mean, I think I stopped watching the World Cup after the Argentina and the Uruguay game, and I think there was 2 bookings, if you're lucky. I just thought, the amount of tackles that were in a lot of games were just put by the wayside. So, I mean, but Japan, I was disappointed by Japan myself. Kev's away to the toilet now. He's just away for a little nature break. So, Pat, what's your thoughts on the World Cup?
Actually, I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I mean, a lot of the games were the same as for you guys. A lot of the times, the kick-off times were a little bit awkward for us. We had some games would be 5 in the morning, some would be 6 in the morning, some would be 2 in the morning. So they were a bit kind of all over the place for us. But I really enjoyed it. But I mean, we'll put it this way: the in the past week or so, we've probably the two major surprises, right, in the world, right? So Germany win the World Cup. Oh, that was a major surprise. The other big surprise in the world is Ian Thorpe's gay. Who would have picked that, eh?
Torpedo.
Who would have thought that Ian Thorpe was gay? I would never have picked that man, but anyway. So yeah, Germany win the World Cup, Ian Thorpe gay. Just 2 very predictable things happened in the past week. So, but in terms of, the guys we had, obviously, Izagiri playing for Honduras, who were just mince, but anyway, that's another story. But he was playing in a mince team and he got dropped for the 3rd game. I don't believe it was an injury. I think he got dropped for the 3rd game. So that, I don't know if that's some sort of reflection on performances he put in. But FA did well at right back for Nigeria. I watched 1 or 2 of their games. Did not too bad. Went off injured, I think, in the last game against Argentina, was it? I forget now. And Sammy, I guess he was technically still a Celtic player at that point, but Sammy was, I don't know, flatters to deceive, but anyway, I don't. As Liam said, Greece were kind of lucky in games, but there was a lot of debate, obviously, about the penalty and was it a penalty and stuff like that. Like I don't know, I reckon it was a penalty, the tackle from behind. If you're in a position where you're about to strike the ball and you get interfered with, so to speak, then I reckon that's blatant penalty. But a lot of people over in Australia, guys I spoke to at work and stuff, didn't think it was. So I thought it was really soft, but he was. So you try and keep an eye on what they're doing, but kind of the same as Kev. You kind of watch it through interest, but you don't really care, if you know what I mean. Even the final.
What about our adopted country, Australia?
Well, they look. I'll be honest with you, I thought they were going to get trounced every single game, and they done pretty well. But when you take guys like Bresciano and you take Cahill out of that team, which obviously didn't play the last game, and you take Bresciano, like guys that have got a bit of class about them, Australia are very average. They're just a very, very average team. But with someone like Cahill there, you've always got half a chance. That goal, to me, was still the goal of the tournament. That left foot shot. So
it was a belter. Yeah.
I reckon I don't think it was any better when it's on his wrong foot. It's the ball's moving away from him. He's at an angle. Yeah, I just can't see how you could.
The Robin van Persie was quite special as well, right? And off the flying header, just for the sheer I don't know the way he threw himself at that as well. And some of the static photographs you saw of that goal as well just looked pretty spectacular.
Was that not the most perfect header you've ever seen?
It was pretty phenomenal, Liam.
Just if you watch it in slow motion, the way it just kind of glides through the air, the ball kind of floats over the keeper. It's just, it's beautiful. It really is.
It was. Yes, there was a few photographs of it. In fact, as I said earlier on, I didn't get up to watch many of the games, but that was one of the pictures that I saw before I'd seen the highlights of it, and I just thought to myself, how the hell do you score a goal in that position? Because he was like flying through the air like some mad bird thing.
You made that into one of the games, don't they? You make all the different drawings and you flick the cards and you see it going slow. Bisco done that. They made it into a wee game type thing. It's brilliant.
What, the Ron Van Persie goal?
The goal, aye.
Oh, right.
They made it the next week, the following week.
Okay. Yeah,
I was just trying to find some reason to watch the games. When you usually, like Scotland have not qualified forever, but maybe Ireland there or something. So you always try. So for me, it was like, oh, please don't just see England get beat. But they were gubbed after the first two games. So you had to find something else to look at as well after that.
Yeah.
So I was always waking up and looking at the games that are coming up and trying to find a reason why I'd want to see that game. I wasn't looking forward to 2 or 3 days in advance for a particular game. I'd see what was coming on the next day, and I probably watched about half the games. It was a bit of a cynical World Cup, I thought. I'd never seen any yellow cards, for simulating, but a lot of hefty tackles.
Aye, and hardly any bookings for it.
What did you all think of the referee's shaving foam thing that he put in front of the walls when he was spraying that down? Do you think is that going to catch on, or is that a flash in the pan?
That's supposed to be coming in this season in Champions League in the groups. Yeah, if you get through to the groups, I'm sure it's in the Champions League this year, just in the group stage.
Again, from what I saw,
they've been doing that for years, though. Kev, they've been doing that. I'm sure it's in the Arab Emirates, some sort of leagues in there. They've been doing it for years. I'm surprised that it hasn't been used much sooner because of look, it's fair. You referee, you put a spot where the ball is and you count 10 yards, and then you don't get the player moving the ball very far, and then you can't get the ball moving at all. So if you actually check, I reckon that's been going on. I went
out for a few pints last night with Big Dennis Doherty as well, and we were chatting about that aspect of it and will it catch on. But I mean, for something that's so simple to introduce, it was pretty effective. Again, from what I've seen, it's it's only something that's going to disappear very shortly, but it acts as that barrier. And my understanding was that if any player crossed that line of shaving foam at all, they were getting a yellow card. So, I mean, it takes that whole aspect of encroachment out of the game completely.
Yeah, I liked it.
And I saw Effie Ambrose was talking about. They were asking in the media conference there with Effie. They were asking him about it, and he liked it as well. It keeps the players right. It keeps the defenders right. And it takes some of that ambiguity away as well. Okay, you can always argue whether or not the wall's 10 yards or 10 metres away from the ball, but again, because he puts that little circle around the ball as well, it's a visual aid for everybody in the park, but in the stadium as well. And I think it's such a simple thing and an effective thing, and it's not as if it's not a high tech. It's not going to cost a hell of a lot to implement. So you could implement that in the Champions League. You can implement it in the World Cup. You could do it in the bloody Scottish Third Division at an Albion Rovers game. It's fairly easy, and I think it was fairly effective. So we'll see how it pans out anyway.
I have to say, Kev, one of my favourite, probably my lasting memory of the World Cup, I don't know if you caught any of these, but on SBS, every single day they had like classic World Cup games from the past.
Oh yes, they did.
I reckon I've recorded about 40 of them. So they even had like what they had is like a 45-minute or maybe an hour highlights of certain games.
Yeah.
And they even had, I know you won't like this very much, but 1978 Scotland versus Holland.
Yeah.
Absolute classic. So that was my, but one of my favourite games of all time, I think it was 1986 World Cup, was Belgium versus the USSR.
Yes, and that was the one I actually watched back, because I'd seen you'd put a tweet out or something on Facebook anyway, because it was the next morning I think, and I got up to watch that specifically, and I had my little girl Neve sitting watching it as well, because she quite enjoys watching the football sometimes, and but I just because I remember that game quite vividly, and I watched it again, and it was the same memories. There was it was just totally and utterly end to end. Every attack resulted in either a close call, a brilliant save, a near miss, or a goal, and that's just the way the game played out. Igor Belanov, remember his goals in that game, and Enzo Schifo as well, who was playing. It was some great memories from that game.
Belgium got to the semis that year, didn't they?
Sorry, Liam?
So did Belgium not get to the semis that year?
Oh,
I remember it was Argentina put them out eventually.
That rings a bell actually, but I know that they did sort of pretty well in it. Whether it was quarters, semis, I'm not sure, but because I remember they were kind of half expecting this Belgian team to, I guess, follow in their footsteps, but I think they were.
I know what I was
as well. Well, I think a lot of people sort of rated them pretty highly, but I mean, there was just classic games, stuff from 1970 World Cup, and even this was it the 82, the Italy Brazil and Italy Germany. I don't remember the West Germany game where Schumacher came out and smacks the guy in half.
Broke the guy's neck.
That was against France, wasn't it? I forget the guy's name, but
Batista. It was against France.
So even all those sort of games.
Patrice Batista, that's right, and Harold Schumacher.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, Kev, regretfully, I didn't quite manage to record the 1966 World Cup final. I tried to record it.
Scotch Betamax videotape running out.
It just wouldn't record, Kev. So yeah, absolutely devastated about that. So
I'm sure it'll be shown plenty of more times for you, Pat.
I don't even know the score. I've got no idea what the score was. So I'm devastated I missed it though. But never mind. So anyway, there's a lot of classic ones in there. So
these things
I'll be tuning into those. So I've recorded them. I've stuck them on a hard drive. I've even got that way. I'm going to keep them for forever. For eventually when my sons actually start liking soccer. These days.
Well, in terms of, I guess, to wrap up the whole World Cup thing, there was one player that was on show there that we've been linked with signing. I know we've not been linked with too many players recently, but there was the boy, was it Christian Atsu?
Yeah.
Atsu. And I must admit, I hadn't, as I keep saying, didn't watch the games, but as you do, as soon as you see a name, you go onto YouTube and you have a look at the guy. Now, in my eyes, anybody that's in Chelsea's books just now, and they're looking to put them out on loan just now, you've got to be of a reasonable quality. But he looks quite an interesting player. From what I've seen on the clips, I was having a little bit of a read, and he was one of these guys that was called out at the World Cup, one of these ones to watch. Whether or not the interest is true or the interest is real, I'm not so sure, or whether or not we even get him, I'm not so sure. But if any of you get any views on this guy, Jimmy Malk, have you seen anything of this boy at all?
Never even heard that you said that, actually.
Right, okay, so that's our exclusive there.
I'm on Gerald and get I'm just moving into the world now.
Has anybody formed a view of this guy? Have you had a look at him at all that we've been linked with? Liam?
I've seen him play before. I watched the game Ghana against Germany.
Yep.
I think that was it 2 each, wasn't it? And I think Ghana were really unlucky not to win that game. I think they're probably the better team. And when you think that Germany went on to win the tournament, that's saying something,
Absolutely.
And he wasn't the best player on the team, but he had a right good game. I think he set up one of the goals, if I remember correctly.
Right.
good cross from out left. I think there's a player there. Probably not a sort of player we could sign permanently, but certainly a year or two on loan, and then probably he'll go to a bigger club. But I think it's the kind of player we need, certainly for the Champions League, because that's the one thing we can offer him that his current team can't, is Champions League football. So
yeah,
hope it was the Germany's goal we set up.
No.
I never seen that.
So there was another guy, Kev. There was the USA international. Is it Diskrud or something like that? His name was. I forget his name. But they were rumoured with him as well. Midfielder, plays in Norway, Sweden, Norway.
Yeah, that's
Norway,
right.
I think.
Yeah, he is Norwegian, but he's opted to play for the US.
Yeah. So they were rumoured with him. I remember the reports a week or two ago were that it's a definite he's going to be signing and stuff, but that's all kind of gone quiet as well. But
yeah, I've not heard too much on it. And the other boy that we've been linked with now, he's not been linked in the World Cup or anything, but it's the guy Madhu. Is it Madhu Barrow or something like that? Barrow's his second name. Barrow in Furnace. I had a look at him on YouTube as well. He looks good. He looks fast. This guy as well. He's playing in Sweden just now, but it looks as if he's played in Portugal as well. He looked a kind of another winger type guy. So I don't know. As partly the reason we've been linked with him is because we're maybe not in the running for the Atso guy any longer. But I don't know. Time will tell.
Don't forget, Kev, though, we were also rumoured with Del Piero for 5 minutes. That was quite amusing.
Well, it was him that started the rumour himself. Was he not? He was touting himself for us, was he not? It was pretty much a come and get me Celtic.
I don't think I think it'll be. See, a lot of these ones have been rumoured to be signing and looking at and stuff. It's going to be Ronnie who's going to make that decision, and I think he's still running the rule over what he's got, at Celtic Park now. So it's like anyone we talked about before, with the mainstream media come out and say who's going to be the boss. I think a few of them are just touting names out as well, who's going to join the club. Probably Celtic have maybe not even looked at any of these guys realistically with a view of signing them. I'm sure Ronnie Della's got an idea of what he maybe needs, but I'm sure he's not made his mind up.
Yeah.
And I think that was always going to be unfortunate though, because you think about it, you've got guys, Bo Richter is a perfect example. Let's face it, the fans just want rid of him. But everyone, that's the unfortunate thing when you change manager, is the manager's going to come in and he's going to want to see everybody before he makes a call on it. So I think fingers crossed they make a call on him pretty quickly and decide, is he potentially the one, or is he? If he's not, then get him punted and move him on. So he's obviously taking.
I think we'll see that part, because the bonus I see about Ronnie being in the post is that he's going to prove himself. He's not got a connection with Celtic, so he's not there for. I don't think he's there for a laugh. I think he'll sort out who he wants and who he doesn't want pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. His future depends on it.
And if Bo Richter continues to be the sick note that we were warned about before he came, I don't think it'll be too long in getting shot of him.
Look at the Saturday missed the night, no?
He did in one of those pre-season friendlies. He did miss a bit of a sitter. But there is another player that was involved in the World Cup that people have been touting that we might sign. This guy goes by the name of Georgios Samaras. Mm-hmm. Now, guys, in all honesty, would we... Sammy for a long time, we've spoke about it on this show before as well.
Unplayable.
He was one of these guys that was brilliant 1 minute, frustrate the hell out of you the next. And we knew this, Man City fans said this before we even signed him. But Sammy stuck with Celtic for a long time. He did. I do believe that he's got a deep affection for the club. And he was probably genuinely a bit upset when he was told they weren't renewing his contract or weren't going to offer what he was after, that's for sure. So they've kind of parted ways, but of course there's a bit of a little rumour went round a week or two ago that we might actually consider bringing him back. I'll ask you first, Jim Kinlan, would you take Sammy back if there was a deal on the table? Would you bring Sammy back to the club? Is it?
It's funny with Sammy, isn't it? I mean, if you went back 3 years ago, I'm going to say punt him, and then we had that great run in the Champions League, and for me, I was thinking myself, he's got to be the first name in the team sheet now. And then last year, it was back the other way again. I think the way Sammy plays will not fit into the way that Ronnie Dyler wants him to play. Like, Sammy was always the one, loses the ball and then trudges back it, you know. He doesn't run back down the park hardly, you know. He loses the ball and he sort of trudges back down. It's the same with James Forrest, you know. I think he'll have to change it as well a wee bit, a couple in the park. But I don't think Ronnie Dyler would want Samaras. Samaras is a class player, but I think Ronnie Dyler want him to put in a bit more effort over 90 minutes, and I don't think Sammy can do that. He's too old to change his ways, I don't think.
Jimmy Malk, if we're struggling to make signings and we've got somebody like Sammy who's dying to come back, would it be a good deal that you'd welcome?
If it was me, I'd take him back in a pay-as-you-play, and then you'd maybe get the best of him.
Maybe. What about yourself, Liam? Would you take Sammy back at all if there was a chance of it happening?
See, this is a difficult one, right? Sammy, the man, unquestionably legend, great guy. Everything he's done the last couple of months, the guy's went up 1,000,000% in my estimation of him.
Yep.
But the player, he's just so inconsistent. I mean, it depends if Ronnie Dyler's the type of guy who can get the best out of players, and I suspect that he might be.
Yeah.
Then he might just be the very guy to get Sammy playing the way that we know he can play. I mean, that's the thing. The funny thing about Greece, for all I think they were a pretty poor team at the World Cup. He was their most consistent player. He was good in pretty much every game. And you know, if whatever the Greek manager says to him, it worked. And if Ronnie can just say the same thing to him, then we've got a player there, and we've got a guy who we'd be able to get now for a hell of a lot less than we would if we went out and signed another striker. You know. And you know, coming off of what was a good World Cup, I mean, all right, they only got to the second round, but they exceeded expectations. You know, it's a good World Cup for Greece, and I think Sammy might be buoyed by that, and he might come on and really do something. You know, because what is he, 29 now? So
29.
Yep.
He's at the point now where if he's going to do anything meaningful, he's going to have to do it in the next couple of years. So he might be come back to Celtic, rejuvenated, and think, right, I'm going to do something in Europe here. I'm going to really show what I've got, you know. It's all about his mental attitude. If they can get, because we know the guy's got the ability, and that is the most frustrating thing. I'd give him a shot. I would give him a 1-year contract and see how he goes.
Okay.
I think considering how much it would cost, say you put him on 20 grand a week, for example, right? Then I think really it's something that we can afford to gamble on. With Celtic's budget right now, with the money we've got coming in, we can afford to take that gamble.
And I think there's no doubt Sammy would jump at a chance of coming back, but by the sounds of things, whatever he was looking for, or whatever Celtic were prepared to offer, the two didn't meet. I mean, Pat, would you take Sammy back, or is that just he's left on a relative high, I suppose. He's been a really good servant to Celtic. Maybe a lot of fans would think the timing was right. We've got a new manager coming in, we want to freshen things up. Maybe bringing Sammy back just now would be a step backwards rather than a step forwards. What's your thoughts on that?
If you guys think and want him to come back to Celtic and sign for us again, then you're pure mental. That's what I reckon.
Oh, it's a bit hard, Patrick. Housewife favourite.
It's
Housewife's favourite. The housewife's
time to move on. It's Liam, I know you're saying, but yeah, it's you bring him in. How much would you pay for a striker like him? He's not a striker. So what you'd be paying him money to sit out in the left wing? You think of Dyler's style of play, right? Is move the ball quickly, right? So what you're going to do? You're going to move the ball quickly all the way from the left back position. You zigzag through midfield. Quick passing. Then you're going to give it to Sammy, and he's going to get the ball, and he's going to run into a brick wall like he does every single time.
Oh,
it's just not working for me.
I noticed when Greece played Japan, one of their major get-outs was Sammy making breaks down the wing. Mm-hmm. So they actually did play him almost as a winger. Now, obviously that was forced on them because they went down to 10 men, but Sammy was their get-out man for those 70 minutes, and he did it very well. And I think that shows that, I guess he's what you call a utility player. You could deploy him in a few different positions, actually.
No.
It'd be a question of sitting him down and seeing what works best.
No. Just no, right?
No?
You're
No?
putting up a crap
Alright,
argument.
okay.
He's rubbish. Next, move on. Get somebody better.
Oh, that's very close.
I'll be honest.
Housewives,
And yeah,
bastard.
he's been described in the past as being unplayable, Pat. Come on.
I'll be honest. I've never
But I
really liked
wouldn't
the way he
be-
plays.
I think you've been very harsh.
Are you saying Owen Archdeacon was crap as well?
I didn't mind we only, but anyway, that's another story.
I think, yeah. But in terms of would I have Sammy back, the answer to that would be no. Now, it's not because of what you're saying about him, it's just because I think the timing is right. We have got the new, well, we'll see how we go, but we've got a new system in place. I don't honestly think Sammy could fit into the talked about system that Dyler wants to play. I've not honestly seen this system yet. I've been a bit disappointed with some of the games that I've seen. I saw a couple of highlights in some of the pre-season games, but I've now dipped into the old Celtic TV, got my subscription there, so I've watched the last couple of games. The Dukla Prague game was a bit disappointing. In terms of this, they keep talking about this high tempo, fast passing, and high pressing game. They're all great buzzwords, and I hope I see it, but I don't think I've really seen it yet at all. I know it's early days, but anyway, if that is the type of football that we're striving to play, for me, Sammy does not fit into that picture at all. He would be the type of guy. Yes, he's an outlet, and yes, he could have his moments. He could have his moments, but Sammy, as we all know, is that type of guy that if he loses out on the ball, the head goes down, the arms go up, he looks to the heavens, and he's certainly not going to be that guy that's chasing to win the ball back for you either. So I love the guy. Sammy's been a great servant to Celtic, and he'll be fondly remembered, but I think it's definitely time we looked elsewhere, and the chances are we have been anyway. There's been a lot of just rumours. I don't know how much of a reality that was ever going to be. But anyway, on that, we'll talk a little bit about those pre-season friendlies. There's been a few of them just now, and we've got another one coming up tomorrow night, our time. I think it's an afternoon kick-off back home against Dynamo Dresden. In terms of what we've seen in these friendlies so far, I'm guessing maybe either Pat or Jim Kinlan, you've maybe seen the most of them. As I said, I saw the Dukla Prague game. I got up and watched that. And I saw obviously the Reykjavik game the night before. I've seen all the goals and some of the highlights of the other pre-seasons, and I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but I've kind of liked what I've seen. But I'd expect after a few games you see a little bit of improvement game on game. I was expecting the first game I saw to compare it to games I'd seen under Lenny last season, and there to be some sort of difference. And I'll be honest, guys, I've not seen it. I've not seen this high tempo passing they keep talking about they want to play, or the high pressing. I've honestly not really seen it. I mean, Jim Kinlan, you probably have seen a few more of the games than myself, and I'd seen a few comments you'd put on Twitter and on Facebook, Jim. And I was encouraged to see that, and then I was looking forward to seeing the games. But when I seen my first game, I was a little bit disappointed.
I thought the Dukla Prague game was the worst one to watch. The one I was telling you to get up and watch. I think that was the worst one to watch. I mean, a couple of things I've thought about it as well. We've had some friendly games using a massive squad, and you don't have time for people to gel. And in these teams, a lot of these games as well, it's nearly like substitutes 10 on, 10 off at half time, that sort of things. Yeah. So I think that the whole gelling and seeing this finished product is a long, long way off. I have seen, the thing that I have seen is this, not so much that Dukla Prague one, but the game before when they won 5-2, when they were down to 10 men, and they still chased and harassed and got 2 goals near the end. It's basically the work ethic I've seen that's been different. That's honestly what I do believe.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard. One, they're just coming back. You know, it's very early in the season. They're not going to be at their fittest. Certainly no match fit. And they're asked to play a really high tempo pressing game. The work ethic is probably the one thing I've looked at and could see that they're covering a lot of distance on the park.
Uh-huh.
It's a dangerous game, you know, wanting to be cavalier in your attitude to winning games. But my God, the fans like to see that. You know, you'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0. You can't do that in Europe. Obviously, you can't do that in Europe. I think we're a long way after finished article on this. Like I said before, I'm quietly optimistic and really quite intrigued to see how this plays out over the next few weeks.
Excuse me.
Oh, that's fair comment, Jim. I mean, Jimmy Malk, you said you were around watching the Reykjavik game with us the other night, and you saw some of the other highlights of the other pre-season friendlies. Have you seen a marked difference between last season's team and this philosophy that Ronnie Dyler's trying to bring in?
Well, I think, first of all, you know, football it's not a complicated game to play football until you start, you know, putting in philosophies and, you know, tactics and all that kind of stuff. So we've got a group of players there at Parkhead who've been playing a certain system or a certain way of football for the last 2 or 3 years with Neil Lennon. Mm-hmm. Now we've got a guy coming in who's saying he must have played a totally different game. So, you know, what, 4 or 5, 6 games? You know what? It takes time for these guys to readjust and fit in a different system. So you probably won't see the benefit. You probably won't see the finished article, if you want to call it that, you know, that total pressing game of football until, I don't know, could be 5, 10 games more or not 20 games more. Yeah. Because these guys they're used to playing a certain way. Now they're all being asked to play differently, but they're only getting, you know, a game here, then they're bringing 2 or 3 other players in. So he's trying to find players that's going to suit his kind of strategic game plan, if you want to call it that. Yeah. So it's early doors. I mean, you've just got to put in your faith in it and just wait to see what happens. Yeah.
No, that's fair comment. I mean, Liam, have you had a chance to see some of the pre-season stuff at all?
I've saw a couple of bits here and there. I think that's a fair point, that you can't really judge the new system or whatever based on these games, because they're basically meaningless games. Yeah. That in one sense, that is the one good thing about these qualifiers coming so early, is that you get to see a true measure of the team, or at least closer to a true measure of the team, because these are serious games. I've never understood the point of these games where you have, like, you know, 25 substitutes or whatever. It really just seems like a complete waste of time. You know, if you want to do it on the training pitch, don't make fans pay for it, you know? But in saying that, I've seen a couple of, you know, promising signs here and there, and I think it's a good system we've got going, but I just think it's going to take time to perfect it, and to, obviously Ronnie's going to want to bring in a couple of players that he thinks will augment the system and make it better as well. So don't judge it now, judge it at the end of August, I would say, and see how it's going then, you know?
Yeah. No, that's fair comment. I mean, I don't know, have you seen too much of the pre-season or not, but if you get anything else to add? I mean, Liam's pretty much summed it up there. It is still early doors. My view is, again, I was probably optimistically looking to see some kind of difference. I don't personally think I've seen too much of a difference at all. Have you got a different view on it?
No, I mean, along the same lines as Liam, but look, the friendlies that sort of been played in the past sort of, you know, couple of weeks have been, you know, our typical 2 or 3 in the morning cases. So I haven't seen any of them, and I've only seen the highlights on the Celtic TV, the free view thing. So just caught little bits and stuff like that, which is, I don't know how you're finding it, but those sort of things look kind of interesting, you know, behind the scenes kind of interviews and that as well. So same as Liam again to a certain extent. Just there's little signs after watching the game the other night, but like I said, Reykjavik weren't exactly, you know, they're not a great standard, if you know what I mean. So there were signs. They did sort of pass away through a couple of little sticky moments, but that was really about it. So the signs, but look, if we've been playing a certain way for the past 3, 4, if not more years, and you can't just change that overnight. You can sort of build up to it to the point where the players are comfortable, and a lot of the players have to improve the first touch and all that sort of thing if they're going to play a passing game that some of our guys just don't have. Typical second touch as a tackle sort of scenario. So they've got a lot to learn as well, and it's but if they can get it working, I just don't know how it's going to pan out when it gets to middle of a Scottish winter. Try to play those quick, fast, passing games when you're at Fir Park and you're playing in a bog. Easy. You know what I mean?
It'll be easy. But again, I think to be brutally fair now, I think in the 80s and the early 90s, maybe some of the parks were like a quagmire sort of thing, but they're not as bad as they used to be. The grounds nowadays, even when it's in deepest, darkest winter, the states of the parks nowadays are a lot better than they were in the 80s and the 90s, that's for sure. So hopefully it shouldn't matter too much if we can get that type of football going. And I'm sure it will come. And let's face it, guys, it's the type of football I think that we all want to see. We all love watching the likes of, and if we can get anywhere near the type of style of play that Barca have, or some of these other Spanish teams, with their quick passing and their movement and the little triangular passing, I think we'll all be very lucky actually if we can see Celtic playing that type of game and winning games playing it that way. I think we'd all love that.
Actually, I reckon, forget about the Barcelona way, that's very unique, and they have kids coming through pretty much from when they're at school, and they have that system, and they've always played that way, and it's the same sort of style they play from youths all the way through the first team. But I just think to get that, it take a generation to get to that sort of style of play.
Well, you say that part, but Barcelona, remember, they always sign players that haven't necessarily been brought up the Barcelona way. They've always got a core of them that come through, but there they've signed the biter, Mr. Suarez as well. Guys like Samuel Eto'o, who weren't certainly brought up the Barca way of playing, but they get there. Henrik Larsson is another one. They get there and they very quickly fit into that system of playing football. Now, it obviously takes a certain type of player, but there's got to be players out there that can fit in. If they're coached well enough, they must be able to fit into that system. But I take your point, there's a lot of the guys do come through that system and they've been playing it since they were Waynes. But it's if you've got the right kind of coaches there and they understand what they're talking about, then you must be able to coach players that are willing to play that way and work hard. I would love to see us playing something even remotely like Barca play. If we could get anywhere close to that at all, I'd be over the moon, as long as we're winning games doing it.
See, I'd sort of match a different, I go in a similar vein but a different style. But I just reckon the style that Chile played in the World Cup would absolutely suit Celtic and Scottish football. I think that's what fans.
I wish I'd have watched them now, Pat. I could.
See,
so what was Chile's style? The high pressing, you mentioned that earlier.
High pressing, and it was basically high tempo and basically defending from the front. And I just think that sort of style would suit the Scottish game. The Scottish game is fast and it's aggressive and all that sort of stuff. And if you have a game, because at the moment we typically wouldn't do that. I mean, we've had players in the past. I think guys like Frank McAvenny. And even Le Petit Merde did it to a certain extent as well, that they would chase back, they would harry. Well, Frank McAvenny, for me, Frank McAvenny was the best at it. He was absolutely brilliant. He always chased back. If he lost the ball, he would, not all the time, but he would track back and he would follow and hassle the guy until you put pressure on him, they might kick the ball at the park. If you don't put pressure on him, he plays a pass to a teammate. So
I just reckon that earlier on, Pat, about that, that was what jumped into my head under Billy McNeil in the centenary winning season. That was one of the features of that team. They commented on it regularly about as soon as we lost the ball, we defended from the front, and Andy Walker was part of that setup as well at the time.
Yep.
But you're right, the two of them did. That's what they did. So it's not. It's nothing new. Yeah, it's nothing new, and we did it under Billy McNeil. So I would agree. I would love to see us doing that again. Barcelona do that themselves. As soon as they lose the ball, their prime objective is to get it back as quickly as possible, retain regain possession.
It's this whole, again, they use it in, I guess, an Aussie rules term as hunting in packs.
Yeah.
Where they try and they hassle and they hustle, like you and your teammates sort of back you up, so if you're hassling someone, you've got a player in a position where it's hard to, get rid of the ball, and then you'll have your teammates will come in and sort of help out, and I just reckon it would work really well for us, and that's why when I read the stuff that Dyla was saying, I was kind of really interested that, is that the sort of style am I thinking the way he's talking, if you know what I mean, is that the style that he's going to be targeting? So, and if it is, I mean, well, I'm just not convinced guys like Pookie and these sort of guys have that in them to do it, even Stokes to a certain extent. Like, there's certain players who depend on other players to make them look good or to produce, if you know what I mean. So, whereas there's other players that just go out and make their own luck, if you know what I mean. They actually, they try their absolute hardest and they'll hassle and they'll try and get the ball back. And I just reckon that sort of style in Scotland, because let's face it, the Scottish fans, I'm not just saying Celtic here, but Scottish fans as a whole will not accept a player not trying, if you know what I mean. So if a player gets the ball and loses it, they just, some leagues, and even they do it in even Australian sort of soccer leagues as well, you kind of accept it. It's like, it's almost like that zone in basketball, zonal defence. You've lost the ball, just get behind it, if you know what I mean. Whereas if you go on the SBS website, you'll probably see some highlights of the Chile games, and just, I don't know, maybe I was misreading it, because I kind of like, obviously they were the underdogs and a lot of the games were playing, and it was just, I kind of liked the way they did it and just went about it. So if we did something like that, I'd be absolutely over the moon if that's the sort of style we're going to play. But again, it might just have been, the fact that I was excited to see the World Cup, and it was, maybe they weren't really that good, but I was certainly impressed the way I guess even their fitness levels, it's like just they never gave up right across the board.
Effort, Charlie.
Say again, sorry, Jim.
They gave 100% effort.
They did, and I reckon that's
you can't ask for much more than that sometimes.
And that's why I reckon that sort of style would work in Scotland, because again, like, whether we love it or hate it, that's the sort of style of play we like in Scotland. It's basically hard and it's fast and it's kick and rush and it's whatever, But if you can adapt to that a little bit and tweak the way that they play, and I've been saying this for a long time, and I don't know why the Scottish team don't do the same thing. Because we don't have the talent that Germany have and Holland have and France and these sort of teams. So the other way to get past these teams is just to basically defend hard and pressure them. I'm not saying it's going to work every time, but I'm just surprised that the Scotland team don't play that way. But I just get a slight feeling that's the way that Strachan's going down. Even the sort of forward line that he's putting out, he's looking for guys that are going to harry, and again, as I said earlier, Naismith is not exactly a lot of Celtic fans' favourite sort of player, but for Scotland, I reckon the games I've seen anyway, which, again, don't get me wrong, it's not every single game, but he's played brilliantly, even as a lone striker.
He's last year as well, to be honest.
Yeah, so I don't worry, labour it. We'll see. I mean, obviously the style's going to develop over the year and over the season, so it's certainly early stages at the moment. But I agree with Liam. There were glimpses of what may come, but whether they sustain that and whether we've got the cattle on the park to play that style remains to be seen.
Yeah, and just before we move off this and we start coming on to the final topics before we wrap it up, Liam, we're talking about styles of football there, and obviously you see a fair bit of Japanese football. Has the J League got a kind of style, or are there clubs within the J League that have got different styles to the others? Because when you look at likes of the Spanish football, nearly all the teams play a similar way. They all do that. They like the short passing, they like the quick passing, and it's, for me personally, it's great football to watch it. Has the J League got a certain style itself, or is there different clubs within it that play, a long ball game, a short ball game? How would you sum it up?
Different clubs have got different ways of doing it, but there's a certain uniformity to all Japanese teams. The big emphasis is on organisation.
Yeah.
That's more. I think that's more of a Japanese cultural thing than anything else. The idea of the whole team ethic. Yeah. That everybody's got to play their own part of the collective,
Yeah.
And to be honest, that was Japan's undoing at the World Cup, because if you watch the team, they were well organised, but there was absolutely no individual flair whatsoever.
Yeah.
And J League teams, as I said, they're all well organised, but you have teams like Cerezo Osaka and Cerezo Osaka are very much sort of open and attacking. They actually usually play with 3 forwards.
Right.
Then you get teams like Sanfrecce Hiroshima, who are a little bit more standoffish. They play a sort of a 3-5-2 system.
Right.
They pack the midfield. And then you've got like Urawa Reds, who play. They're kind of the best, generally regarded as the best team in Japan. But I don't like them because they're kind of the Huns of Japan. But that's another story.
But they're playing a bit of a Man U strip, Urawa Reds.
Aye, they were red because basically they were set up by Mitsubishi Corporation.
Right.
So red diamonds, as in red diamonds on the Mitsubishi logo. That's where they get their name from.
Right.
Because their full name is Urawa Red Diamonds. But anyway, they play a very straight 4-4-2, but that's because I think their manager's Dutch, if I remember right.
Okay.
So he's got them playing a very European style system. So the teams have all got their own individual ideas, but they all conform to the same idea of like very set formations, very uniform way of doing it, and it's got their part to play. You know, utility players are big in Japan. There's a lot of players who play multiple positions, because it's all about what the team needs. It's like, okay, I'm a left back, but the team needs a left winger today, so I'm going to play left wing. You know, it's all about that.
Sorry, I was just having a nice sip of Heineken. This programme's brought to you by Heineken in association with half the world in association with James Boggs. But
tonight only.
Well, guys, now I'm going to have to apologise as well to Liam and to Jimmy Malk here, because I'm going to try to wrap up the show. But before we do, there was a very special event on during the close season for us, and Jimmy Kinland and Patrick and myself were fortunate enough to attend the Huddle Down Under in the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And guys, was it not just a fantastic weekend?
Brilliant.
Superb.
It was.
You still got a hangover.
And that's pretty much wraps up the show.
There's not much more to say.
No, Jim, well, listen, I know we caught up quite a bit on the actual weekend itself, Jim, and that was the first time I've spoken to you many times prior to being there, Jim, but that was the first time I'd actually met you, and we caught up quite a lot while we were over there. We had some good banter, etc. But obviously didn't have a chance to get your views on the entire weekend after it had all wrapped up and stuff like that. I've not really spoke to you since, but overall, Jim, what's your defining moments or your favourite moments of the whole weekend?
Actually, probably the cruise. The cruise was magic.
Well, maybe we should, for anybody listening to this, and hopefully, if they're not listening live, which I doubt they would be anyway, but any of the boys that were on the Gold Coast weekend will listen back to this as well. But for those that weren't there or didn't experience it, or maybe could be tempted to go to something similar next time round, either Pat or Jim, do you want to have a stab at trying to describe how the weekend panned out? It was pretty much people arriving from the Friday. What date was it in June?
That was a Friday. Oh yeah,
Friday.
6th to the 8th, wasn't it?
6th to the 8th. So we arrived on the Friday, or the majority of people. Some people I think might have arrived on the Thursday.
I was there in spirit.
And Jimmy Malk was there in spirit,
things.
as I'm sure Liam was as well. But there was some people were arriving, I think, even on the Thursday night. Yeah, and then a lot of people were arriving on the Friday. There was a lot of stuff arranged then on the Saturday and the Sunday, and most people started drifting away on the Monday. But your good self, Jim, I think, stayed till the Tuesday as well before you headed off. Yeah, the one you want to just have a go at briefly trying to describe the events that were on, and Chris McMonigal again, he hates getting a mention for any of this stuff as he did on the weekend. But Chris's initial thoughts about it, Stevie Harvey and our very own Patrick Close were very heavily involved in organising the thing for us all, and it was an outstanding weekend, and I think that everybody was there thoroughly enjoyed it. Jim, why don't you have a stab at trying to describe?
I think one of the best things, if anybody's never heard much about this or is only just hearing it, because there was some people who never knew it even happened. Chris done a brilliant video. It's fantastic, and it's on YouTube, and you'll find that if you go. GC Celts. GCC is capitals and ELTS, and it goes into a 10-minute video of basically the weekend. But
I'll try and tweet that out just now. I'll go and try and find it. So
go and find it, yeah.
The
whole weekend for me, truly, I mean, I went by myself, knowing that I wasn't going to spend 2 minutes by myself. Yeah. Because as soon as I remember, the first thing I did was when I went upstairs, checked in, came downstairs in the lobby, see Eddie Murray and Stevie Murphy. I've never met him before, but you recognise him. And it's, Jim, Eddie, how are you? And that was it. Quick, let's go straight to the pub. And that's the hint. We just lived in the pub nearly for the 3 days. But it was just that camaraderie and meeting everybody. It was phenomenal. Whatever event was on, it was done magic.
Yeah.
Do
you want to maybe go through for the itinerary of what we had on, actually?
Because you can't remember, all right?
Oh, I can. I'll just correct you if you get anything wrong.
Well, Friday night I remember. Friday officially it was at Darcy's, but a few of us met up considerably a few hours earlier than that in the pub in the corner. I can't remember the name. Fiddler's Green, wasn't
it? Yeah, it was.
Fiddler's Green most of Friday night, Darcy's.
Yeah.
That was
Saturday was the football.
That was a long day as well.
And
the band that night, Black Stove that night. The football was good. It was good laugh.
The football was great. So what basically happened there was a load of the boys that were attending. It was quite a lot of the young team, some of the old team. But I'll tell you something. Some of the old team acquitted themselves very well. The likes of Jim Riley, etc. That was there as well. And funnily enough, they played a local team, but the Gold Coast Huddle Down Under Celtic supporters were playing in the hoops, as you can imagine. But the local team that they were playing, and I cannot remember their name, but they were playing in the Inter Milan strip. Mm-hmm. And the bizarre thing was it finished up 7-1. 7-1 to the hoops. And it was great. The guys, they played really, really well. And it was a good laugh. All of us that were there cheering them on. We could get our beers from the little bar, the little social club. And Australia being Australia, this is a little part of a little amateur club that would put a lot of Scottish third division teams to shame. Their facilities they had. And it was a lovely sunny day as well, and we had a good sing song later on, and there was a band on in the pub that night as well. So the Saturday was great. And the thing I must admit as well, and congratulations again to Chris, the way he organised this, the beauty of it all was everything that was organised was after midday. So it meant that you had your good bevy the night before.
And you had your breakfast in the morning.
You could have your breakfast and you weren't rushing to get anywhere. Yes. You had time to recover. And then
to iron your Celtic top.
To iron your Celtic shirt, things like that. It was great. But then Sunday, Patrick...
Sorry, see, before you go, I don't mean to interrupt. See, when you're just talking about John Paul there, and I've never, and maybe he'll hear it from this, because we never actually thank him. It was John Paul actually sent the shirt that we raffled off.
Yeah.
And we raised, it must have been over $1,000. It was $700 that night, plus the profits we got from the shirts.
Yeah.
And that went to that, we gave it to the lady who ran the club. She had an affiliation with, sending kids off to the Special Olympics. So, I mean, see, for me, I thought that was a nice wee touch. You know, like you walk away, you go to that club, and you leave them, and the woman was nearly in tears because she ends up getting all this money, and you think, great, because it's part of Celtic, and you walk away thinking, the guys love us. So I would just like to thank...
You're right, Jim, as well. Thanks to John Paul Taylor.
John Paul, and actually...
I was with JP and sorted that out.
Yeah, but it was Paul Larkin as well. It was Paul who actually went to JP and sent it to us. So I've never thanked him on air enough. So big thanks to Paul Larkin as well.
The originator of Half the World Away.
Yeah.
That's off to Paul.
Sorry, Kev, didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to get that bit.
No, well, I'm just wondering, Pat, are you back? Are you still listening there, or are you doing all that?
What?
Because I was going to... We move on to Sunday now, so that was the Saturday, and we had a rare tear, but then the Sunday was the organised boat trip, and it was a bit of a cruise on the waters around the Gold Coast. And for me, like yourself, Chip, that was the highlight of the entire. The football afternoon on a Saturday was brilliant, but the boat trip that we got that was organised for us, they chartered the boat for us, so we had it all to ourselves. Patrick, DJ Pat, had done up a nice little few tunes for us, so we had some nice Celtic songs, we had a few little rebellious type songs on there, and they were the speakers were fairly decent on the boat, it has to be said, but there must have been about, I don't know, 60 on that cruise, Pat?
Oh, something like that, I forget. Not everyone turned up, I think.
There's a couple missing.
Still worse for wear from the night before, but I think they saw the boat and just went, nah, I couldn't. So anyway, some people just got there, turned around, went back to the pub. But yeah, there was 50, 60 people, I think sort of 50, 60, yeah, something like that.
And it was a 3-hour cruise?
The boat was hilarious, I've got to say. That was just such a laugh from start to... In fact, saying that, the whole of Sunday, like I enjoyed Saturday, but Sunday was just absolutely spectacular from, I was getting sort of messages and phone calls. This is, bear in mind people were out to all sort of silly hours of the night, on the Saturday into Sunday morning. I was getting messages from people at the pub at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Yeah. And I was just going, not a chance. Come down and have breakfast with us. We're in the pub, and that was them there until the boat trip. It was just bizarre. But there were Celtic tops everywhere. It was hilarious. But the boat trip was, the highlight for me as well. It was just such a laugh. And everyone was in such good spirits, and everyone was in, the songs, the music was just, that was just to sort of gel things together. There was nothing more than that. But we had a few situations where I think we're coming in to, it was getting near the end of the trip, and I forget what was the song we played going in now?
Oh,
it must have been Celtic Symphony, was it?
I think it was Celtic Symphony, yeah.
So anyway, I think it was you who requested it, Kevin. Said, look, why don't we get Celtic Symphony going? We're docking, and so I was like, sure, I can do that, so up and DJ Pat doing all his stuff, getting everyone ready, so they did an announcement, right, we'll be docking in 5 minutes, whatever, and just as they're coming around the bend to sort of into the little sort of mark, the key sort of area, and it was just on went the Celtic Symphony. But that stage I was just bursting sad. I'll nip downstairs while I'm inside, nip downstairs, and I swear to God, the boat was flipping bouncing all over the place. I'm standing there trying to have a wee, and the boat, everyone on the deck was just jumping up and down. The place was just rocking. But then we went straight from there to the pub, which
Darcy's.
We went to Darcy's. It was, we went straight to Darcy's, and we had a sort of, and again a bit of an Irish night there, but a few guys from Western Australia. The Bold Connor, if he's listening to this at some stage, was in fine form. He was the entertainment for the night, and it was just hilarious. Everyone was in good spirits.
He had some good moves, did Connor?
He did, so. But I've got to say, Kev, you were asking the highlight.
Yes.
Now, the highlight of the whole show, of the whole weekend, and it just leaves you with the question: who did the jobby in the car park?
I was going to mention the jobby because, as we said, everybody was impeccably behaved. Everybody to a man and a woman that was there. And again, as Pat mentioned right back at the start, there must have been between 80 and 100 people there easily. But I don't think there was at one stage we were all together. But at Darcy's was that the Friday night or the Saturday night?
I think it must have been the Saturday night, yeah.
Saturday night.
No, Friday night. It was Friday. Saturday night was the football.
Well, you seem to know a lot about this.
It was the Friday night. It was the first night because we were talking about it the next day on the boat.
Well, somebody was seen with hoops on, and they were in the car park out the back of Darcy's pub, and apparently they'd had allegedly and apparently they'd had a poo-poo in the car park.
Who was walking funny the next day?
Well, nobody knows. Somebody must know. A few people might know, but nobody truly knows the identity of the phantom car park shitter. But it was getting quite a bit of airtime, but I honestly don't know who it was. I don't know if, Jim, you do, and you're keeping it quiet.
Nah, I don't. You know what, though? There was Chris's son, Kieran, apparently was getting the videotapes. But that was the last I heard about it.
What, like footage, CCTV?
Yeah.
Isn't there a name for that? That's a bit sick, isn't it? Really, Jesus.
There was a few cracking pictures in that, and wind-ups going on in Facebook the next day as well. And it was somebody. I think it was Connor had doctored something, photoshopped something about somebody having a crap down a chimney. He changed the headline to somebody had a shite down a car park.
Yeah.
But it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and there is talk that we'll try to do something similar again. There's also the North American convention thing that's happening, I think, next year. But I think there was plenty of us fancy doing something similar, and there was a lot of talk about where would we do it next time. Should we move it to another state, or would we have it somewhere else? But there was certainly quite a lot of people up for having it at the Gold Coast again, just to maybe rekindle some of those memories and making it a default place for it.
I think everyone would support that. It was just the climate that even that time of year, which is winter time for us, the climate was just great. You know, everyone's walking around with shorts and t-shirts at least, and just wearing around the hoops. You can wear the hoops into we're walking into pubs and stuff like that. Nobody really cared. It was just the whole place. It's kind of built. It's like it's a holiday resort. You know what I mean? It's just built for it. So it's just a major success, start to finish. There's a few sore heads coming back home right enough, but I would do it all again in a heartbeat.
We could maybe have the next one at Osaka.
Aye, that's a good idea.
You'll need to work on that Celtic supporters club up there, though, Liam.
Honestly, the whole time I've been in Osaka, I've met one other Scottish guy, and he's a bloody Sevconian.
Oh.
Good guy, but he's a Sevconian.
We should mention the token Hun that turned up in the Gold Coast. Though that was quite funny as well.
The guy at the ATM.
Yeah, it was one guy. We've got no idea where he came from.
Was it?
Well, we were all kind of we were standing. I think Fiddler's Green it was, and this round the corner, and someone's went, "That guy's wearing a Rangers top," and everybody, there must have been 20 of us there sitting waiting for him just to bag him. It was like. And he came out he came out and he must have saw us. There is no way he couldn't have seen us. And he came out the bank from ATM and turned and walked the other way. So never mind, that was our chance. So yes, your token Hun. I think it was Australian. Someone said he'd mentioned something to him. Look, we are the people or some crap like that.
Yeah.
As if it was some sort of wind up. But yeah, get it right up, you buddy. So yes,
I don't know if Kevin told you, like when Celtic came to Australia a couple of years ago. When they played Perth Glory, Kevin and I were out at a bar called the Fenian Bar on the Friday night, and we got to know the big bouncer very well. And then on the Saturday after the game, we went back to the Fenian Bar, and the big bouncer guy, the big black fella, Michael, came across and said to us, "Don't talk to those two guys at the bar because they're Huns, as you call them." These two Rangers fans walked in off the street, had a pint of beers, talking to the bouncer, and said, "We're going to noise these guys right up." And Big Michael, the bouncer, said, "No, you're not. You're out the fucking door." And he told us they popped him out the door. So that was good of Michael.
So
guys,
guys,
before we start sort of finished off, we should just quickly mention the draw. I don't think we've talked about I guess if we spoke about the next round, I mean, who we prefer. Do you want St. Pat's? Do you want Legia? Or do we actually cover that? Or
I think we did kind of. We're confident whoever, but if we're talking about who we'd prefer, definitely St. Pat's for the fans' sake.
Yeah,
on both sides of the water.
I was looking at the draw as well. Aberdeen have got a bit of a sticky one. They've got they've got Groningen. They drew nothing each with them at Pittodrie. They've got to play them the second leg, obviously, and then they got Real Sociedad. If they get through that leg, that's just for the qualifiers. So
I haven't said that, Pat. You said it earlier on that Poland are just starting their season, or they've not started yet. I noticed leaving last night the Europa Cup, all the Irish teams had good results. So there's something in that as well.
Well, again, I think that's partly because because the Irish league they have started. Right? They're well into
so maybe Legia Warsaw might be a better option. Who knows?
We'll see.
Only time will tell.
But Pat, listen, you're the one. You're trying to prolong this year. You were the one wanting the short show tonight. I was all ready for wrapping up, and you're trying to.
Well, it's 104 minutes, Kev, so far. So we're already breaking records. Although we've got about another half hour to spare just to break our short record. So anyway, But no,
I
fair
think
enough.
we should
Move on.
wrap it up. It's the first show of the new season, so I reckon we should be wrapping it up.
Sounds
So
good.
Oh, did you mention the latest Sefco pantomime though?
we kind of touched on it. We kind of touched on it earlier on, but do we want to have a final laugh at Ace
final?
Ventura, Pet Detective, Fusion,
Oh yes, undoubtedly.
Sefco, Glasgow? One.
So, well, what's happening? So, do they still exist? Are they dead yet? I mean, I don't know.
No, yet, but there's a few
think
stories
they-
kicking around that might be dead soon.
They need a new war chest. They can't beat
Well,
Fusion.
they're not dead again. They'll be dead for the first time.
Yeah.
They're the shortest living club since Gretna, potentially.
Well, I mean, Phil McGillivan's still obviously finding stuff out about them as well, so it looks if
Phil's still going. Phil's still going like a dog with a stick.
absolutely, and fair
He
dues to the
won't,
man. So yeah,
He won't lie down.
but yes, I think they're obviously struggling very much. But anyone who fancies sort of sending us messages of hilarity, then fair enough. But there's a couple of things on Facebook as you've been following. I think Sevco Scotland or something like that is one of the things on Facebook. They're quite funny, posting stuff about them as well. But Phil, and then there's stuff all over the place. But it's going to be a tough year for them. But I think they drew Hibs, isn't it? It's in the League Cup or something. So they've got that coming up pretty soon as well. So
All right.
yeah, I think
And
they'll have
Big
to.
Stubbsy, of course. Big Stubbsy's
Stubbs
now
is there,
the new manager of High Birmingham.
Yeah, and Hearts have sold 11,000 season books already.
Is that right? Well, there you go.
They've sold more season books already than what they sold the whole last 2 years.
I think
So
it's
they'll-
going to be it's going to be interesting watching Sevco play in the middle of winter, especially you think about it, all those season tickets that didn't sell. Why
Yeah.
when it's absolutely banging down with rain outside, it's freezing. You're going to give your £20 to go and watch Rangers play. For the
No, I know we already kebab shops round about Ibrox, wouldn't they?
No, they'll be going to the pub with their mates. Have a couple of beers in there. So it'll be interesting to see if they survive it. But
That's if they're goat mates, part.
But
I
see, the thing is, I mean, all joking aside, but it is quite funny. Because Hibs are down there as well now, and Hearts. Now, obviously, there's potential for two to go up there next season. So even if Sevco don't win it, they've still got a chance of getting up. But there's a very real chance the two Edinburgh sides could come back up. And being Hearts or Hibs fans now, I'm not surprised they're out there buying tickets for this because they have got to fancy their chances of winning something. Being in a league where you're actually winning games more often than you're not is going to be an incentive for them to go along. So they will be the Hearts fans and the Hibs fans will be as up for this league as the Sevconians next season.
Hibs only broke.
It's going to be funny. It is going to be quite hilarious, especially if you've got a team that's getting beat by the likes of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and United. 3-1. My God, pre-season or not, that's
And I
incredible.
don't think Ali's got any philosophy compared to Ronnie.
Sally has salary.
Eat the pies.
Salary has got philosophy. Pie man. Get as
Here's a
much pies
thought
down
here
to
about
by
McCoist,
half
right?
time as you can.
Something I heard about Alan McCoist the other day on Facebook, right? Tell me what you think of this one, right?
Yep.
Alan McCoist is to football management what a cheeseburger is to a lactose intolerant Hindu.
That's it. Odd,
That's
because
too intellectual.
That's an insult to the fucking Hindu and the hamburger.
That's quite funny. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up now because
British Open Zone.
Jim's going to watch some golf.
And I've just moved and I don't have Foxtel. I don't have nothing yet.
That's the only reason
Except for a mate that's got it.
That's the only reason he's round here, guys. He's wanting to watch the golf on the Foxtel because he's not got it yet. The new house.
On that, Kev, are you keeping Satanta for next year?
Do you know? Well. Now this is where I need to lower the voice part because the deal was with my darling beloved. The deal was that if I get Celtic TV, Satanta goes, but I'm going to try and keep the two of them.
Can you guys all hear that?
So that's what I'm going to try and do. For the simple fact, you get the Gaelic on there as well. Plus, there's bound to be a few Sevco humiliations on next season that I'd quite fancy seeing. So we'll see. I'll keep you up to date how that goes.
I'm fairly certain, Kev, that the Gaelic football's off Setanta. It's now on Channel 7.
I don't think it's an exclusive deal though, Pat.
I think, cause I know a lot of the pubs in Melbourne were getting rid of Setanta because there was no Gaelic football on it. So, get that in mind.
Sevco, there'll still be some Sevco humiliations.
Yeah,
I'll try my best to keep it, Pat. I will try my best to keep it, but I must admit,
they need to up their game, Setanta.
There's been a lot of, you know, Pat, my situation with the whole Celtic TV thing, and I'd never fancied it, but now that I'm on the national broadband network over here, I thought, right, the time is ripe. We'll get the old Celtic TV subscription going, put some money in the coffers. It's my little bit that I can't do from, or I can do from over here. It's like your equivalent of a season ticket, maybe, except not as expensive. But I've been quite happy with it so far, albeit the Bold Coat Bridge man, Kenny Mackay, some of his commentary is dreadful. Shapes to shoot. Shapes to shoot. Constantly. And it's far too pro-Celtic. We're all pro-Celtic, but my God, some of the... if we do something bad, just say it. We're not mugs. Just try. Don't make it such a Pravda type thing. Just say, oh, that was poor or something. Don't try to pull the wool over eyes by saying, oh, that was a brilliant effort when it was 20 yards over the bar. But anyway, I'm enjoying it so far.
Well, Higgs is actually asking in the chat room whether Celtic TV's worth the money, but I know I certainly had issues with it.
It used to be crap,
season.
But no,
it was buffering all the time, and
last season was It buffered for me right at the start of last season during the qualifiers for a couple of games, but after that, for the whole season, it was immaculate.
Well, again, I've only got limited experience of it, but it's been okay so far. But I don't know where the issues with that are, because Pat, you says you've got outstanding coverage where you are. Outstanding coverage where you are anyway. I've not had any buffering at all. And my mate, one of Dennis Doherty, that was out for the pints with, he's got his Celtic TV as well. His buffer's like buggery. But I've not had any issues. But again, I put that down to the being on the national broadband network.
No, I mean I'm with Optus, and I've got a really high speed. I've got 100 meg download speed, and which is capable. Like, you wouldn't even need anything close to that. A small percentage of that actual bandwidth to show the games.
And yours
but
buffers.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually sit and track it, it comes in from two different paths. I won't go into sort of technical details of it, but it doesn't come directly from Celtic. It goes into this sort of big, sort of fast speed network that goes around the world. Right. So what they do is they put their traffic into that, and then it comes out at the other end, like normally Sydney for us. There's probably one some sort of termination point over in Perth, I'm guessing, that might come from Singapore or something, you know what I mean? So but that's essentially the way it works, and I'd sit there and watch it, and you could actually see the speed, fast, and then you just get nothing. It would just instantly stop. Now, I'd be connecting to everything and anything I can. Like, I've watched the stuff on SBS, World Cup, high definition, and it has been absolutely perfect every single time. I don't know if you used it, Kev, Jimmy, the SBS app they had on, for your iPhone or for your Android.
I did actually. I did the on-demand one. I used that. Yep.
It was absolutely. It set the benchmark in Australia, I reckon, for the coverage they gave, the actual quality of picture they had on their website to watch the World Cup games was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. I cannot praise them highly enough. It made a huge difference. If you're sitting, like I'd be sitting at work some days watching, the second half of a game, it was absolutely spectacular.
So, I hope your bosses don't listen to this, Pat.
I would doubt very much
Pat,
that my bosses would listen to this. Well, I'm a sysadmin in the company, so I've got to have some sort of leeway, haven't I? But I'd be sitting on the train some mornings, even through 3G, still getting a decent quality of picture. So that certainly set the benchmark over here, I reckon. And it would take a lot of beating, but when it gets to Saturday night, when you settle down, even sort of those 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning games, and you get up and you're sitting there just getting frustrated by Celtic TV buffering and then rebuffering, and you contact them and all they say is, oh, it's nothing to do with us, it's something to do with you. And it's, well, how can I pick up a stream from a dodgy stream from somewhere and it's perfectly fine?
Yeah.
How can it be my issue when you connect to, you know, like an ESPN site and, you know, stream a basketball game with no buffering at all? How can it be my issue? And I just get no real response from that, and I just got so frustrated. I just canned it.
Yeah.
And as you know, I'm on a bit of a dodgy, so and that's probably where it will stay until they actually improve it. I mean, I might give it another crack at some stage during the year, but in truth, my experience last year was not good. So,
well, maybe
hopefully
we'll have a regular Celtic TV watch slot going forward, because if it does start underperforming, I'll can it.
Yeah. Well, simple fact is, NBN over in Australia is like the national broadband network. It is as fast as you're going to get, you know, in the modern day. It should, in theory, in 2 years get faster, obviously as technology improves, but if you're going to get buffering where you are, Kev, on the national broadband network, then we're all in trouble.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not, but my mate is. He's not on the NBN. I'm on it, and I haven't had any buffering.
You were going to upgrade to HD, you wanted to see the...
Yeah, but he's got the premium plus package, and he says the quality of picture isn't any better than the
NBN, is it?
No, he's not.
Well, that's what I found. I paid for the premium package
the
last
premium
year.
Plus.
Yeah, basically it was the £28 one.
Yeah, but you better quote a picture of Satana on your computer when you're doing TV.
Yeah, you do. And that's another reason why I want to keep my Satanta subscription, because you can get the Satanta Plus app on your phone, and it's the same account, and the picture's perfect on that. It's better than it is on the telly.
But then you could dump that. I mean, it's on Satana, come in my house and watch it. And I'll keep the Satana. Save money.
We'll talk about these tactics.
You Celtic TV, the Sydney Supporters Club did all last year.
Yeah.
You used Satanta there. And that's a good thing. And I know that's what you're looking at, Kev, as well, because then you get to see every bloody game at the club.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And again, that was part of the idea, Jim, because the Mandara CSC we lost out a bit last season with the amount of games that Satanta weren't shown in the pub, and so that was part of the thinking behind it. Now that I've got a Celtic TV subscription, I'll just use that for a supporters club, and we'll be watching every single game, sort of thing. So it's not a question on is the game on this weekend. It definitely is. So that was part of the thinking behind it as well. So we'll see how that goes.
See, Jim, you have to keep in mind as well that Sydney there's a premium plus package that Kev was talking about, but there's a different package you can get again from Celtic. You have to contact them directly to get it, and it's like another level above that. So that's what I believe Sydney have. It's not your standard, you know, the stuff that you and I would pay for. Your 20 quid 20 quid was it? $20, I forget now. So 20 quid a month. You know, you pay more for it, but apparently it's even better than just the normal stream.
I'll maybe need to look into that as well then, Pat, because I wasn't aware of that. Because we want the best one possible in the pub.
You may or may not. I mean, depends what sort of connection the pub's got, but you may have to sort of do a bit of research on that. But you have to contact them directly to get that. I know that for a fact. A lot of the ones in the US have it as well. So I think it's probably some sort of higher speed link or download link you can actually get. But I know from obviously being an IT guy, I was tracking the traffic that was coming to my PC, where it was coming from, and there was basically two different. When you connect on that, I forget what it was, but you had not channel one, but you know, you had sort of 3 or 4 different options to choose for your picture.
Yeah.
Each one of them was different. It was basically coming from a different source. That's why you had 2 or 3 different ones.
Right.
So yeah, that's
okay.
That's the way they're doing it.
Do a bit of Celtic TV watch as the season progresses and see how we go. See how my mood goes. The moodometer.
Yep. Well, if your mood improves and it gets better, then I may well get it back again, because it was good seeing all the other, you know, although it's a bit wanky, all the huddle.
It's as you were saying, right? It's the stuff like you see them doing their training and stuff, and I know you see a lot of that free viewing on YouTube, Celtic YouTube channel as well. But there's some other little exclusive things that you don't necessarily see.
Yeah.
Which is it's as a fan, it's good, especially a fan. It's not as close to home. It keeps you in touch with what's going on, and you actually hear player interviews and things like that, which is just something you just don't get over here after a game or at half time and pre-match, that kind of thing. It's great. It's great for us, the other side of the world, or the expats anyway. Right, guys, definitely going to try to wrap this up. Before I do the rounds, I'll just give some shout outs to some good people on Twitter that were either retweeting or saying hello or whatever. So, of course, Tony Cassidy, we've got Brian Flanagan, Celtic Champions, Liam, Independent Boy. Liam, was that you? Is that a different Liam?
Oh, that's not me.
It's a different Liam. Independent Boy, Stevie, we said Jim Rennox earlier on, John Paul Taylor at Celtic, obviously, who's our good old liaison officer, CFC 1888, Beer O'Clock, Tommy Gribben, Charles Kerr, Corpac Boy. I think that's me covered, everybody.
Corpac, that's a Fort Boy, wasn't it?
Corpac Boy. Fort William?
Fort William Corpac.
There you go.
That's Andy, isn't it? So I'm sure it was Andy. He's been on the show before. Thanks to Higgs in the chat room. The Myrtle Beach, not the Bawbags, the Myrtle Beach Baw Deep CSC, they're in there. Thanks to Chris McMahon as well from down in Geelong. Geelong's just down the road from Melbourne, so he's been messaging in the message of the chat room as well. So sorry to Alistair for not getting you on, but next time we'll have to get Alistair on. Alistair's now got Skype, so he's very happy. He's not doing sort of phone-ins to the guys at Homeboys, no doubt, on a Monday night. So he'll actually be calling in through Skype these days. So
what was he doing?
Alistair.
What was he doing before?
He was Homeboys had a generic 0141 number. Calling through that, and Alistair was refusing. You know, he doesn't do Skype, is what I remember saying. I don't do Skype, boys. You know, I'm going to go phoning, and then he's also got Skype. So, and I'm sorry, Alistair. He messages me on Skype. I don't have Skype running all the time, but for some reason it shows you it's still logged in. But I wasn't logged in at all to Skype, so I've got no idea what it does. It's doing something weird on my phone. So, anywho, we'll get him on next time, eh?
Okay. So anyway, Jimmy Kinlan, have you got any shout-outs or anything you want to say or say hello to anybody?
No, just usual. It was just great. Everybody that was up in the Gold Coast. Look forward to catching you all again soon. It was one of the best weekends of my life. And cheers, guys. Good being back on. Good having the podcast back, Kev. Really missed it.
It's good fun, isn't it? It's good fun.
Aye.
Oh, thanks for coming on as well, Jim. Good on you. What about yourself, Liam?
Well, okay. Here's a wild stab in the dark, right? I'm about to apply to try and do a law degree.
Oh.
But it's going to cost me a lot of money.
Oh, Jesus.
If there's any particularly altruistic Celtic fans listening who care to lend me $5,000, they can get it back in 3 years with interest. Let me know.
Plenty or donate.
No donations. I'll pay them back when I qualify. Believe me. But I'm about $5,000 short of what I need. So if anybody's willing,
just to put it out there, Liam.
Let's see what the miracles of social media can do. Who knows?
Well, listen, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
There might be some philanthropist.
Yeah, let me think about it.
Listening.
Me
and Jimmy Malcolm have a good long hard think about this in the next couple of hours for you, Liam.
All right, okay.
But apart from funding your law degree, anything else?
No, not much going on up here, mate. Pretty quiet. School holidays have just started, so
all right.
I'll do a couple of shout outs. I'll say hello to everybody in Osaka. A few of my friends, Nathan, Josh, Gaz, if you guys are listening, hail. Hello to Sayako, hope she's listening as well. So that's just a few friends I'm saying hello to. So.
And what about all those girls that you were watching the World Cup game with?
Oh, well, they know who they are, so hello to them as well.
Stop picking name, you'll find your $5,000.
Hello to all Liam's Japanese girls. Right, Jimmy Malk.
Oh, seeing as we're on an optimistic note there about the $5,000, let's just look at the Dalai Lama. He's got so far, statistically speaking, he has the best record of any Celtic manager.
Is that true?
He's got 100%. Played one competitive game, and he's won it.
Well, there was actually one manager that had this, and he retired undefeated as well. One manager. Can you?
Not 100%, no.
Oh, he did. He did. Do you know who it was?
Ken Dalglish.
No.
Liam Brady?
No. No.
Oh, Tommy Craig?
No. The clue is an Ian Paisley lookalike.
Frank Connor.
Frank Connor.
Right.
Stand-in manager. One game and we won it, and that was it.
Oh, he'll go to the games.
Well, hopefully.
Legend.
He was a legend.
As long as he's not like Ned, but alright.
So is that it, Jim? No more shout-outs? Is that it?
Nah, just for anybody in Glasgow and Parkhead who's listening in, or who listens in later on. Hopefully it's good for you guys back in Glasgow.
Do you miss Geraldton?
No, not yet.
Fair enough.
Bosh, he won't ever listen to this, but a shout out to Volker Stenger, who is a German guy I met doing my last college course at TAFE there. Well done, Volker, for Germany for the World Cup.
Fair play. It's all good. Patrick, in fact, no, Patrick, I'll come to you last. I'll do some shout outs now. Just to, as usual, the Erngobra CSE back in Coatbridge. The Mandara CSE, anybody that's listening, will be having our AGM on, it's next Saturday actually, 26th.
Be Ian the Soul Machine guy.
Is the AGM at Friar Tuck's at 1 o'clock.
Friar Ticks.
So if there's any members listening or potential members listening, come along to the meeting, and we'll see how we pan things out for the rest of the season. As I said, we're hoping to have something better arranged than Setanta could provide us with in terms of Celtic coverage this season. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's hopefully going to be another good season for the Mandara CSC and Celtic. Shout out to Celtic Australis FC as well. I want to still give them a few shout outs, and I'll continue to do this hopefully during the course of the season. So this is the amateur football club that's based in Perth. They're on Twitter at OzCelts, and it's at OzCalts. So if you haven't started following them yet, get on and see them. And if you're in Western Australia, if you're in the Perth kind of metro or metropolitan area or the suburbs, look them up and see when they're playing and try to get along to see them. I haven't personally been along to see them yet, but we'll hopefully manage something during the course of the season for the Celtic Australis. And other than that, I think that's probably about me covered off. So Patrick, I'll hand it over to your good self to wrap us up, mate.
Yeah, I need to speak to you about the Australis guys. About something else. So yeah, just again, shout out to all the Hill Media guys. Tune into the, no doubt you're doing it anyway, but the 10 in a row stuff is pretty good. Pretty funny stuff. So we should have a klaxon. If you ever listen to it, we should have a klaxon to move on our subjects. Because Graham's got a klaxon. Graham Wilson's got a klaxon. Why haven't we got a klaxon, Kev?
I don't know what that is, but I know what a klaxon is.
Yeah. Paul Larkin's Ask the Skier stuff is obviously still ongoing. I saw the other day that he had sold out the premiere in Glasgow, which is pretty exciting for him. So, as Kev says, he's always got a link back to this Half a World Away podcast because he was the one.
It was Paul that started us off.
Yep. Well, it was David Harper, then on to Paul, and then we basically moved from Homeboys Down Under to Half a World Away, and it's still going strong, Kev. Number 25, quarter of a century. There you go. Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it? Yeah. Yeah. Just anyone who's in Melbourne area, look up the Jockstein CSC. Just looking at some of the fixtures, there's a couple of good ones that might come up for us in terms of Saturday night games. I think we play, just looking at quickly, Dundee United on Saturday night. That'll be a 9:45 PM kickoff on the Saturday. The following week is going to be a 9:30. That's against Inverness away from home. So assuming they're on Setanta some way, shape or form, then we might try and see if we can get the boys together on that as well. So I'll keep an eye on Setanta for it. So fingers crossed with that one. So anyone in the Melbourne area, try and get in touch. So it's at Jockstein CSC Melbourne, I think. I can't remember now. The Twitter account. There's nothing really. I can't think of anything else. I'm a bit unprepared for this one, I guess. So at JSCSC Melbourne, that's what it is. At JSCSC, as in Jockstein CSC Melbourne. You'll find us on Twitter. Also on Facebook as well. If you look for Melbourne Celtic supporters or something like that. I'll get prepared for this the next time. Hello to everyone in Airdrie, anybody who knows me, and cousins and stuff like that in and around the area. Hello to the Willie Gorman Celtic supporters, guys, supporters club over there. Just saw some tweets from them as well a few minutes ago. They're also trying to get things arranged for the start of the season. And that's about it really. So we'll hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll start plugging away and getting these podcasts out every couple of weeks that we did last time, especially over if we, fingers crossed, get the Champions League. Then we'll certainly make more of an effort to try and get them coming sort of, every fortnight is probably the best we can aim for. Sorry we missed Martin Kelly tonight, but he claims he's really busy at work, and I'm really busy at work as well, Kev, but I'm still here. That's all I'll say. Thanks, Martin.
Dedication, Patrick, is what that is. Dedication.
Or stupidity, one of the two. And yeah, that's about it really. So anyone wants to get in touch with us, Kev gave all the details before, at halftheworld88 on Twitter. What's the email address, Kev? Still the same, isn't it? halftheworld88@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's
Drop us an email. Any recommendations, suggestions, even things like, use a pish, please stop, things like that, we'll certainly take on board. So we do talk flaps, we admit it, but we the heart's in the right place.
Alright.
And I think that'll do us, eh?
Final shout out to Bo Deep for Celtic and Ronnie, who's just retweeted the Huddle Down Under. So it's the clip that you just put out there earlier on, part that Chris had pulled together about the Huddle Down Under Gold Coast 2014. So please do have a look at that and get a little taster for what we enjoyed back in early June, because it was a superb weekend, guys. So yep. Apart from that, let's wrap it up, Pat. Have you got anything to play us out with? Or is it just the normal theme tune?
We'll do the live version. I do like the live version that Noel Gallagher did. So I'll play that one. It's a few minutes off, but it's still one of my favourites. But anyway, hooroo, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Good on you guys. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
I would like to leave this city, 'cause this old town don't smell too pretty now. Well, I can see the warning signs running around my mind, and if I could leave this island, I'd put myself into the soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. Here I go, I've been scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. What do you say? You can't give me a dream if it's mine anyway. Half the world away. Half the world away. Half the world away. I've been lost, I've been found, but I don't feel down. No, I don't feel down. One day I'm gonna leave this planet. You know I would stay, but I just can't stand it. Well, I can feel the warning signs running